She went under the wheels.
Welcome to Under the Wheels. I'm Matthew.
I'm Gabe.
And today we are talking about Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, or Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, or Star Wars Too Many Skywalkers. It's our special Star Wars Holiday Edition. Oh, shit, I messed it up. Fuck, already. The Star Wars Holiday episode. That's what this is. Star Wars Holiday Special.
Well done. That's why you're the host.
Have you ever seen the Star Wars Holiday Special?
No, I haven't, but I've just seen like a lot of still images of Han Solo's totally fucked up looking face.
Oh, you mean Harrison Ford now?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, he does.
We're gonna just get
the resemblance is uncanny.
Let's just get this out of the way now. Spoilers. The whole thing, the whole episode. I'm gonna go balls deep into spoilers right out of the gate.
All right.
But yeah, Harrison Ford. Yeah, he looks crappy. I actually realized that Harrison Ford has never ever looked good running on film.
Well, does he run in Rise of the Skywalker
Harrison Ford does not run in The Rise of the Skywalker. If anything, his facial hair grows somehow. Like I remember looking at it and I was like, his hair looks pretty much the same as The Force Awakens, but what's with the fuzz? Like, what's with his gray beard? He never had facial hair before. But like Indiana Jones, he looks stupid running. In all 4 movies, he looks dumb running in that. In all the Star Wars movies, he looks stupid running. Because I just watched all 8 movies of the main trilogy, or the
numbered
canon.
entries.
Yes, in preparation for this. So, I had all of them on the back burner as I was watching the Rise of the Skywalking stuff. So, do you want to start with ratings, or should we just get into the discourse?
We can start with ratings.
Okay. This is going to sound weird because I'm going to sound like I'm going to be hating on the movie a lot, and overall it has a lot of problems, but I'm getting it. Ooh, this is going to be controversial. I'm going to give it a low witness.
Ooh, I was going to give it like it's a low, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised you didn't go mediocre.
Well, it's like, it's weird because when I watched The Last Jedi, I had a fun time in the movie theater. But when I left, the more I thought about it, the less I liked the movie, to the point where I just found it baffling. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that I don't like a lot of the choices in it, but I still enjoyed it when I initially saw it. So that's worth something. And to a similar degree, I had a fun time watching Rise of Skywalker. But my God, this movie is a steaming pile of shit. Like, it's really bad. Like, it's fun in like the Batman versus Superman kind of fun. Like, it's so stupid that it is enjoyable, almost because it's so stupid, but like it's also frustrating because it's so stupid.
I'm gonna inject here. I will say, so I saw it twice. I saw it Thursday because I figured, I like Star Wars, I'll see it Thursday, and then they're seeing it Friday, I'll see it Friday. So I saw it back-to-back days. So a lot of the movie is like really fresh in my mind, where a lot of the people who have plot holes, I can tell them like, nope, they addressed it. Did they address it well? We're not going to go into that. But
I will say the movie is very airtight in terms of like, you can't really question its logic. Like, the internal logic of the story works perfectly.
Yeah, to an extent.
But it's still terrible.
It's messy. It's funny that you brought up Batman v Superman, because of course this was co-written by the co-writer of Batman v Superman.
Oh, of course.
Yay. And Argo. I don't think Chris Terrio has done anything good since Argo.
I've never seen Argo, so.
So even that's debatable. I will say that when I first came out of the theater, the only feeling I had was that of like hollow emptiness. That's how I felt. As soon as Rey is like looking over those 2 sunsets, and kind of like, you assume the last time you're gonna hear the John Williams build up to the iris out for whoever wrote and directed the movie. All of a sudden I was like, this is how they're gonna end it. So J.J. Abrams had 2 attempts at getting a really good final shot, and he fucked it up twice.
Oh yeah.
So, because the final shot in The Force Awakens is fucking stupid. It's god awful. It's probably Ooh, man, it's bad. And then the final shot to this, it's like the suns are in focus and she's out of focus, but because it's shot with a telephoto lens, she's all like heat evaporating-y and like so I felt empty at the end of this movie. And then when I saw it the second time, I was able to release all my frustration.
Yeah.
And it's it's more enjoyable than say the Transformers movies. It's more enjoyable than a lot of like kids movies that pander to kids. Obviously, this thing clearly doesn't pander to kids because we got to make Star Wars mature, which means like demon Palpatine. But let's just say it's a kids movie. The pace of it works really well. I think the chemistry of the main cast members work really well. That's something I feel like J.J. Abrams does really well. The movie moves at a pretty brisk pace, and it's fun enough.
Well, I would say the pace is almost too brisk. Like, the movie had a very strange effect on me. One, because J.J. Abrams typically makes very good-looking movies. Like, his Star Trek movies, love them or hate them, look great.
Agreed.
And I think The Force Awakens looks really good, too. Whereas this one looks so slapped together at the last second. And
Which it was.
Yeah. There's some reasons for that.
Yeah.
There's so many flat, ugly two shots of people from like elbows up with a ton of negative space above their heads in this movie, especially on the Rebel base. There's so many like weird shots of a stand-in for Carrie Fisher.
Ooh, God, that was so bad.
Those are really bad. And she's like in shadow always, and then everything else around her is in light, so it's like it wasn't even lit properly by the CGI artist. And then the pacing is really strange. I went and saw this with my brother, and he noticed this as well. The movie has like a lot of like classic kind of Hollywood writing tricks, where it's like a lot of little things that kind of get hinted at over the course of the movie have like little payoffs later on in the movie. So you can go, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. A good example is like the horses.
Right.
Where, you see these ex-stormtroopers riding horses. And it's like, oh, horses in Star Wars. That's cool or whatever. Yeah, and then later on when they're doing the final assault, it's like, we don't have any land vehicles. What are we going to do on the ground? And then Finn is like, we don't need land vehicles. And then they come out of the ship riding horses. And then, like, that moment is...
Jam, they're speeders. They're not riding speeders.
Yeah.
Cue and in, like, send in the cavalry.
Well, and that moment is supposed to be like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. But it happens so freaking fast that your brain barely has a second to register that it's going on before it just cuts to something else. And that's what the entire movie felt like. It felt like, I complained about Captain America Civil War trying to be Avengers 3 Civil War and Captain America Winter Soldier Part 2 mashed together. And it feels like two movies mashed together. This feels like we need to apologize for everything in The Last Jedi and do a proper sequel and tie up the trilogy all at once.
And tie up the Nentology. I don't know if that's what it's called. But all 9 movies.
All 9 movies, yeah. So they're just zipping from shot to shot, plot point to plot point. It's shot... Like, the cinematography in this is actively annoying, which is rare in a movie. It's rare for... Like, there's bad cinematography out there, but it's rare to have, like, cinematography that pisses me off. Where it's like every shot is on some, like, sweeping crane because, like, this is... Whatever you're watching they must think it's so boring that you have to whip the camera around to make it look interesting. And it's this kind of... And then also edit it really, really fast. So it's this weird kind of ADHD filmmaking where they don't trust your attention span to be longer than 2 seconds. So every shot is 2 seconds or less, and every shot has, like, bizarre, unmotivated camera movement. Or it starts at that weird, like, elbows up angle, so it can dramatically push in or pull out at any time because it seems like they're not sure how they want to do it in the moment that they're doing it.
Right. So
it's like we need to set up from the most neutral possible place so then we can do a dramatic camera move on the fly just in case this one shot comes off really boring.
There's a lot to unpack there. First off, J.J. Abrams has regressed as a filmmaker 100%. Secondly, all of those sweeping camera shots and stuff, it's been a while since you've watched Force Awakens. It's all over that. He loves 2 things. One, going from a wide shot to a close-up in like a long take That really doesn't serve a purpose. The other thing he loves doing is going into a moving shot that goes to a canted angle. I was very disappointed because there weren't as many shots of movement going into a canted angle, but there were a lot of those pseudo one-shot wannabe Spielberg shots.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of like wild camera movement in
Yes, there is.
like Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness, but I feel like they use it judiciously enough to where it's not annoying. Like it's usually to show off something, like look at how cool the front deck of the Enterprise is, or like someone storms into a room dramatically and it follows them around as they're like barking orders at people. It's like, hey, the Klingons are doing this and we gotta da 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 da. And like in that sense it works because the energy of the camera fits the energy of the scene.
Right.
No, I say, but we don't need that same stuff when like Ray, Finn, and Poe are meeting up for the first time and like arguing about the Millennium Falcon being on fire or whatever.
Right.
Where it's like moving for no reason, and then when it doesn't move, the shots look terrible.
Well, that's the other trademark of J.J. Abrams' style. He's not just a filmmaker. He's a filmmaker on steroids. like you were saying, it's like, oh, they can't just have an argument. They've got to be yelling at each other and the camera's moving forward and it's like Michael Bay in an argument, but we're staying on one shot and like the lighting is hyperactive. So he's a hyperkinetic, hyperactive filmmaker. And like, here's another example. When that one guy is like, ooh, your dark religion, Kylo Ren. Why would we go back? And like Vader chokes the guy. Kylo Ren throws him into the ceiling while choking him. It's like,
I know.
We get it. Or like, or the Sith planet. Which is like...
God.
Exegol,
so
which it's like, okay, it's like almost a cool idea because we've been talking about, oh, we want to bring back environmental effects. You know, there's a lot of smoke in the planet.
There are some very cool environmental effects there.
They did. And then on top of everything, we're adding strobe lights. Like, bro, come on. Or like Palpatine. It's not just Palpatine. It's Palpatine on crack. Like,
well, that was so frustrating. It's like, why are you bringing Ian McDermott back for this role if you can't see his face the entire movie?
Oh, that was the worst. And like,
it's
granted,
so
most
annoying.
of it. Now, did you see it in 2D or 3D?
2D.
Okay, so I saw it in 3D twice, and let me just tell you, those scenes on Exegol in 3D are tough to watch. Like, it's really hard. Because it's like, oh, he's wearing a hood, and it's strobe lit, so maybe I'll see a bit of his nose here, and a bit of his iconic chin, I guess, and his eye that doesn't have any pupil in it. Like,
it's so frustrating, man. Like, you know, we've seen the Emperor's face in bright lights throughout the entirety of Star Wars, and everyone loves Ian McDermott because he's so over the top, he's so much fun, and in this, he's like, he looks like he doesn't want to be there. You can't see his face at all. He's like, he sounds like he's phoning it in, which is, it's really something for a guy with his like boundless enthusiasm. Considering that, you know, those prequels aren't by any means great cinema, but he's so like alive in those, and he just sort of like, I'm getting paid.
Yeah, he owns those. He owns the prequels. I don't think he was as uninterested. I thought though that they didn't quite nail Palpatine. I think they kind of got him closer to the end, but then they also suffered from weak final boss syndrome, which is, we have this big baddie, we need to defeat the big baddie. How are we going to defeat him? Oh, we're going to defeat him in a very anticlimactic way.
Yeah,
like that.
They beat him Dragon Ball Z style. They have.
I was actually. It would have been better if the spirit of all the Jedis appeared on the ground in like CG glory, like Goku behind Gohan as he's killing Cell. I was like,
no.
That's the Star Wars movie I want to see.
Here's the problem though, because like the Cell saga was the last good storyline in Dragon Ball Z. Everything else afterwards sucks, I think. And the Majin Buu saga I hated, and this felt like Palpatine felt like Kid Buu, like the villain who keeps dying and coming back in a different form for no reason because they've run out of ideas. And then when Goku vanquishes Kid Buu, he calls on the entire universe to pour their energy into a spirit bomb that he obliterates him with. And that's literally what Rey does. She calls on the energy of all the Jedi and spirit bombs Palpatine, and he disintegrates.
Yep, draining her life force.
Mm-hmm. And also, Kylo Ren is basically Vegeta now.
He's when he has something to do in the story. Like, because let's be honest, he didn't have jack shit to do in this story until the end.
Oh no! But he does walk around being like, "I am the true Prince of Saiyans," and then at the end joins sides with Goku, and he's like, "You know what? I'm happy playing second fiddle."
I was actually half hoping that like when he went into that like bottomless chasm or bottomless chasm, he would appear in like all white Jedi robes floating in the sky, and like Palpatine would be like, What is this? And like the music would swell, and it would be an unmemorable John Williams theme as he goes to take down. This movie, like from a conceptual point of view, this movie is awful.
Oh, totally.
Let's just the best meme I've seen about the movie is a meme that says Star Wars Episode 9, written and directed by Reddit.
Yep. Well, the other thing too is it's like it's so bad and so ill-conceived that it almost invalidates, like The Last Jedi kind of invalidates The Force Awakens, which is fine because The Force Awakens is not a great movie by any means. It's a good movie, but it's not a great movie.
But it feels Star Wars.
So it's okay to shit on it.
It feels Star Warsy.
This movie invalidates like the entire saga. Like everything that was cool about, you know, the prequels and the originals manages to be retconned some way, somehow in this to be lame. Anakin Skywalker's entire story arc, which was the central basis of the entire series, you know, the hero's journey and then the subversion of that hero's journey, like that becomes invalidated when Palpatine's just back suddenly.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, well, you know, I was really playing the long game, you know. I'm running the football up the middle and yard by yard by yard throughout this entire 9-movie saga. The goal was to get here to a lousy rehash of old ideas.
To the point where like the movie doesn't just copy episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It even mimics the ending of episode 8. Well, yeah. The ending before the ending, because he's like, watch as your pathetic rebels, and it's like, I understand this is a callback to 6, but it's also a callback to 8 at this point. Like,
yep,
it was very, very strange. But anyway, as you were, you may continue.
Continue ranting. So yeah, it's just Palpatine should never have been brought back. If you wanted to have a serious Star Wars movie, he never should have been brought back.
Correct.
Part of the reason I had a good time was because I came in feeling like this was just a dumb pile of shit, and I had no desire to take it seriously or no intention to take it seriously. And that's, I think, why I enjoyed it. Because if I did take it seriously as a Star Wars movie, I would just get pissed off. So I kind of watched it. It's like, oh, Palpatine's back. It makes no sense. General Snoke's or Supreme Leader Snoke's origin story makes no sense. None of this makes any sense. And it's all
by
stupid.
The Force. Yeah.
No, Snoke was created by like...
He's a clone.
He's a clone.
He's a clone created by Palpatine, but created through the Force. Because Palpatine knows how to create life through the Force.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Or it's like, and also it weirdly implies like Count Dooku is a creation of his or something.
I think they were trying to imply that
because he's like, I've been every voice inside your head, and his voice goes from Palpatine to Snoke to Vader to like Christopher Lee. Or at least it sounds like Christopher Lee.
I think it's just the remnants of old ass James Earl Jones doing a little bit of my voice drawling a little bit because I'm older now. So J.J. Abrams regressing. So part of the thing that I like about his movies is all of the cameos he puts in. Mm-hmm. Part of the thing I hate about his movies is all of the fan service he puts in.
Yeah.
Like, because it's all poorly, for the most part, it's unevenly
It's all
executed.
obvious and terrible.
I'm going to say it's unevenly executed because there were a few moments that were done well. It's a lot worse in Star Trek. It's a bit better in Star Wars, and it's a little bit better here. But it seems like J.J. Abrams was like, oh, watching Ryan's film made me free up to do things differently. And apparently the different thing that he did was he didn't format it like a Star Wars film. He's like, remember when my wipes made sense in The Force Awakens? Now I'm just going to use wipes whenever I want to. Like, JJ, it doesn't work like that. You remember this planet from episode 3? You remember Mustafar? By the way, did you know that Kylo Ren was on Mustafar in the beginning? You know, the volcano planet that had trees?
What? That was Mustafar?
That was Mustafar.
That makes no fucking sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid.
And like the natives of the planet don't look like the Mustafar natives in Revenge of the Sith either.
They do not. And why is he massive? Oh, God. Oh, man. Where do we even begin? I know we've already begun, but where do we re-begin?
Because... Well, I feel like we'll just have this kind of circuitous, unstructured rant where we just talk about... We'll leap from idea to idea that we hate, similar to how the Rise of Skywalker is constructed.
Well, at least Rise of Skywalker has linearity to it.
Kind of.
More out of necessity because they were like, all right, we could film here for this amount of days. Let's move. We could film here for this amount of days. Let's move.
I also
And
like kind of the bonkers, like, forced superpowers that everyone has now.
me too.
It used to be pretty limited, but now they're just straight up superheroes. Like, I thought that was kind of neat, actually.
I'm glad that because the stuff that they brought in, when people are like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, this is all in the video games.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of this has been canon. I remember when I first did you play The Force Unleashed?
Oh, yeah. Fun games, worst story ever.
So The Force Unleashed has that cinematic where he brings down where Star Killer brings down a Star Destroyer.
I remember playing that. It was like a really boring QuickTime event.
It was, and then all of a sudden you have to go and open a door. He can bring down a Star Destroyer, but he can't blast open a door. That moment was where the game lost me. But I liked that they were playing tug of war with a ship. I like how J.J. Abrams hypercharging. Remember in The Last Jedi when they touched each other and like Kylo Ren had rain on his face? Now they can trade items.
I know. I thought that was also stupid, but pretty neat as well.
I agree.
It's cool that they use it as a plot device, because it's
is.
oh, cool, she sends him the lightsaber through force teleportation or whatever. They figure out how to send each other like stuff through teleportation, but they can't go through any teleportation. They're still stuck where they are.
They kind of do, but I think it's easier to move. I've stopped trying to apply logic to the Force, because you don't try to apply it in the original trilogy, because if you do, you run into a rabbit hole of, oh, well, if they could have done this, then why didn't they do this? If they could,
oh yeah.
So I don't apply logic to the Force. I go along for the ride.
Applying logic to the Force is like what cringy fans do.
Yeah, I did watch the episode 9 Red Letter Media review.
Oh really? I didn't see that.
Speaking of cringy fans,
I like the RLM crew.
I like them for the most part, but the whole time I was watching it, I got this feeling that they really weren't paying attention to the movie. Now, with that said, if you ask me what the point of the Sith Wayfinder, the Sith stuff is stupid. Yep. The Sith stuff is stupid. I think it was I want to say it's The Last Jedi. They were like the prequel trilogy was about the Jedi versus the Sith. Then the original trilogy was about the Rebels versus the Empire, and now we have the First Order versus the Resistance. And I'm like, oh, cool. We don't have to worry about the Sith anymore. Maybe these like the Wrens, they're like the new form of the dark side, which I think was a Lawrence Kasdan thing, because he was like, I can only recycle the same story so many times. So I feel like the Knights of Ren were his idea. I feel like there's a lot of like little things here. It's either Michael Arndt or Lawrence Kasdan's idea. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, nope, Palpatine's back. Oh, nope, the Knights of Ren #goals are fucking stupid. Like, oh, nope, no Phasma in this movie. She's actually dead.
She's actually dead. Palpatine somehow lived, but Phasma's dead.
Somehow Phasma's not invincible. I hope there's a deleted scene out there where like Phasma's alive, but like the suit is like fused to her body now.
Oh my gosh.
Like, dude, body horror shit going on.
Another thing I hate about the new Star Wars stuff, and I guess for one disclosure I should put out there, the only Star Wars stuff I consider canon at this point are the prequels, the originals, and the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars. I don't consider the video games canon. I don't consider the expanded universe books and junk canon. I don't consider these new movies to be canon. I don't consider any of the new shit to be canon. I don't consider the 3D animated Clone Wars series to be canon either.
I hear it actually gets pretty good.
I don't care. Fuck that show. Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars is so fucking good, and it leads directly into Revenge of the Sith. Like, his Clone Wars series ends with Palpatine getting kidnapped by General Grievous, and Anakin and Obi-Wan hop in their ships and fly into outer space to save him. And then Revenge of the Sith begins with Obi-Wan and Anakin in outer space trying to save Palpatine. Like, it's perfect. It's a perfect lead-in. And why they would scrap that, given that that little show is so awesome, is baffling to me. Yet they'll keep like bringing back everyone's stupid fucking ideas from the expanded universe. Like, oh, what if Darth Maul survived and has robo legs? And like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let's bring Darth Maul back. First of all, It's getting to the point where, again, it's like Dragon Ball Z, where death doesn't matter. Everyone can die, and no one cares. It's like Luke, no one's ever really gone. Really? No one is ever really gone. Man,
Not in
Darth
Star
Maul,
Wars.
Darth Maul, who had no force abilities to speak of, somehow survived being chopped in half thanks to force abilities that he doesn't have. Just because, people like Darth Maul, we should bring him back, even though it makes no sense and is kind of weirdly cheap. Because it denies Obi-Wan his revenge, and it denies like all of the character turns that happen at the end of The Phantom Menace.
Unfortunately, you crossed the line, though. You said it doesn't make sense. Of course it doesn't. It's Star Wars. You made a fatal error there.
Well, what I mean is it doesn't make sense from a story perspective. It doesn't make sense narratively or thematically or character-wise to bring him back. It's just, hey, fans like this guy. Let's bring him back. It's like, hey, fans of those stupid expanded universe books like the blue guy, like Thrawn or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, let's jam him into the new stuff because he's a fan favorite. And it's like, why? Who cares? Who cares about all this expanded bullshit? Every expanded universe video game, comic, novel, story, whatever that I've heard of or been unfortunate enough to witness, it comes across as a fan looking at Star Wars and saying, hey, you know what? What if, and then something stupid. And that's why I don't like those things, and that's why I also don't like Rise of Skywalker, because The Last Jedi still feel like, I don't like that movie, but it still feels like a Star Wars movie. It feels like, hey, what if we tried to like elevate Star Wars a little bit, and then I think Rian Johnson just botched the execution? Or like, what if we tried to turn Star Wars more inward and be more self-critical? Which is kind of part of the legacy of Star Wars. All those movies are in various ways kind of self-critical. So like, I think it was a good concept. I think he just screwed it up in the execution. Whereas this feels like...
I disagree with that, but you already know that.
I know you disagree. We can get into that later. But The Rise of Skywalker doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. It feels like a fan going, hey, what if? And then ringing off every dumb idea imaginable and then cramming it all into a movie.
Ironically, a lot of the people I know really like The Rise of Skywalker. They're like, oh, it's such a fitting end. You know, like when C-3PO looks at all of those people that he's known for maybe 5 years, and he's like, I wanted to take one last look at my friends. He's not looking at those people. He's looking at us, the audience. The only reason we feel any emotional reaction at all is because we like 3PO. And the idea that he's going to lose his memory forever is sad. To which he then regains his memory not too long after that.
Also, him losing his memory
no consequences.
Is a hint. I know. Well, also, him losing his memory is a reference to Revenge of the Sith, where he gets his memory wiped.
He gets his memory wiped, yeah. And, yeah.
It's also like, oh man, there's so much baffling stuff. There's so many like this movie clearly has no respect for The Last Jedi, which is a shame because I feel like again, Last Jedi, very divisive. You like it, I don't like it. But they should have just said, like, okay, this is what we got. Let's move forward from this point. Stick to your guns and just keep going. Stick to your guns. But they're like, okay, what do we have to apologize for? Yeah, it's an apology. It's like, Rey's parents are just drunks, right? That's a really cool idea.
It's great. It's the best idea in the movie.
It's the best part of The Last Jedi.
Second best idea in the movie. Their parents
are drunks.
Second best idea in the movie.
I think
the first best is that the Jedi are assholes.
Well, we already knew that. Favorite. I mean, the prequels are all about that idea.
They are. Which that reminds me of where I thought the movie was going. But yeah,
the movie, like I said, it's true. It's a history in Star Wars for those movies to be at least a little bit self-critical because the prequels are very critical of the Jedi.
Right.
But I think the best idea of The Last Jedi was that Rey's parents are nobodies. Like, she's a nobody. She came from nothing, and that's cool because it's like anyone can be a Jedi. You don't have to be part of some like royal bloodline to do cool shit. You can just do it, and I think that's neat. And it sets her up as a good counterpoint to Kylo Ren, who has this
is nothing but legacy.
He's nothing but legacy, and it's all squandered legacy. And that's why their character dynamic is so great, and that's why their character dynamic was the best part of The Last Jedi, because it plays off that whole thing really well. She's no one, but she has like all this prodigious power. And he's someone, but he wastes all his talent. So like that was shitty. Making her a Palpatine is extraordinarily dumb.
I was enjoying the movie. Like, I was enjoying it. I didn't think it was perfect, but I was enjoying it until he's like, you're a Palpatine. And then all of a sudden I was disconnected completely from what I was watching.
See, here's what I would have wanted.
Everyone.
I know, it's so dumb. What I would have wanted is I would have wanted like a total social justice kind of move where Rey is actually the first like trans Star Wars character in the sense that she is Anakin Skywalker reincarnated as a woman. That's what I wanted.
Oh
like
my God.
that's so infuriatingly insane. I would have loved it.
But see, that works because it builds off of... So the problem is a lot of the ideas... Now, a couple of them work. A couple of the ideas actually do build off of The Last Jedi. But a lot of the ideas that they walk back on don't build off of what's been already planted. The Last Jedi, a lot of the ideas built off of ideas that were already planted in The Force Awakens. Why they feel so shitty is because, well, he was going off a script. He wasn't going off the actual movie. And as he said recently, he's more interested in challenging fans' perception of their property than he is in just pandering to them, which I respect. Yeah. Even though he does a lot of pandering in... Like, there's quite a lot of pandering in The Last Jedi. Everyone seems to forget that. Anyway.
Oh, totally. And I mean, it's also like, you know, Snoke having no origin or having no real backstory was frustrating just because he is an important character and we have no real insight into who he is or what his motivations are.
He's implied to be an important character.
Well, he is an important character because he's a central figure in Kylo Ren's backstory.
He's a central figure in Kylo Ren's backstory, but he also creates, like, he's also the cause of the conflict in the movies as well.
Yeah, but it's important to know who he is and what his motivations are.
Agreed.
Because it's important to know how those play into why Kylo Ren is the way he is. And giving him no real substance in The Last Jedi and then killing him off was a move I really didn't like because I think it didn't give Kylo Ren's journey or character arc the full amount of respect that it needed. Yeah. And then this movie apologized for that by giving Snoke just the dumbest origin ever. He's some weird like homunculus grown on a Sith planet by Palpatine's like weird shambling like minion people.
I was trying to make an Uruk-hai.
Basically, he's basically trying to make an Uruk-hai.
This was like watching Battle of the Five Armies all over again.
Oh, God, seriously. And then, what else did they apologize for? Oh, yeah. Everyone hates Rose, even though, like, her character's whatever. Like, it's fine. There's no reason to hate her that much. But everyone hates her for some reason. So
I don't understand it.
She's, like, sidelined for the entire movie. They kind of pay, like, a little bit of lip service, like she's there.
I like to think that
she's there so people who like her can see her and not get pissed at Disney that they cut her out of the movie.
I like to think that Kelly Marie Tran got to read the script and she was in it like a shit ton. And as she's reading it, she's like, okay. Oh God. Actually, JJ, you don't have to put me in the movie. It's okay. I'll be over here enjoying not being shit on the entire movie because of stupid decisions you're making. But thanks anyway.
It's shitty for her because it's like, oh, she's such an important character in The Last Jedi, but then they Jar Jar Binks her, where it's like he's a huge character in Phantom Menace and then barely appears in the other two movies.
Yeah.
So she like barely appears in Rise of Skywalker as J.J. Abrams waves like, we heard you and we're sorry.
We get it. You don't like Asians. We get it. You don't like them.
I mean, Star Wars has never been kind to Asians. I mean, look at the Nemodians. Newbeck or whatever. It's a little creepy how like all of the aliens in the prequels are racial stereotypes.
George, are you sure you want to go with this? Oh, it's cyclical, you know. Oh God. Oh man. Yeah. So and then there's the Luke Skywalker scene, which I think everyone is reading the wrong way. Everyone's like, you know, because Rey's about to throw the lightsaber and Luke grabs it and he's like, that's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to do that to a Jedi's weapon. And maybe they intended it to be like, oh yeah, fuck you, Rian Johnson, for having Mark Hamill throw the lightsaber. But if you think about Luke's trajectory in The Last Jedi, he wants to be disrespectful to Jedi at the beginning. And at the end, he ascends to becoming a great Jedi Knight. So it does make sense that in his Force form, he's a Jedi Knight who grabs the saber. It makes sense that he harkens back to Return of the Jedi Luke because that's his arc in The Last Jedi. Unfortunately, people don't remember that characters can have arcs in movies, maybe because some movies don't execute them well, but I think it was executed well in The Last Jedi, but, that's just me.
I don't know, because it's like with The Last Jedi, so my big frustration with the entire movie, and I'm sure you have a different take, is like, it starts off being very interesting and subversive in the sense that it's trying to recontextualize a lot of what we take for granted about Star Wars and say, well, hey, like, does this really make sense? What about this? In the same way that like the prequels don't portray the Jedi all that positively, which is cool. And then it completely abandons that halfway through and doubles back on itself. It's like, it's a lot of stuff like Rey and Kylo Ren have this really great story arc together where all their similarities and their differences make this really great contrast as they both try to sway each other to the other side of the conflict. And it's kind of saying like, hey, look, maybe this whole, bad guys dressed in black leather versus good guys dressed like army dudes all the time is not just this simple good versus evil thing. And maybe there's more layers to it. Maybe people on the other side are real people and have reasons for doing what they're doing, and so on and so on and so on. And like maybe Kylo Ren is not just this total bastard. He's got more layers to him. And Rey is not like this goody-goody two-shoes. She's got more layers to her. And it builds to this wonderful point in the middle where they both kill Snoke, and they have that weird floaty dance sequence with the other red guys. And then...
Still better than any action scene in The Rise of Skywalker.
I don't know about that, man.
Dude, Kylo Ren ignites a lightsaber right into some guy's face. Love it.
I didn't like that action sequence because I felt like the camera was too detached from what was happening. So it felt like I was watching a dance and not a fight. But that's my own personal quibbles.
At least I could see what was going on.
But anyway, their story arc comes to this really great turning point. We're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And then instead of taking the next step, they completely hit reverse and go back to the beginning, where Kylo Ren is just like, oh yeah, I'm still evil, you're still good, do you want to do evil things with me? And she's like, no, because I'm the good guy. And it's like, okay, it's back to being a simplistic good versus evil story again. And that frustrated me to no end. Because it's just like, it's like you built this all the way up.
I do have a take on it. Yeah,
right to the point where you're like, oh, we're going to do something crazy. And then it just turns completely around, goes full circle to where, no, it's just good guys versus bad guys, same old shit. So I had the same issue with Luke Skywalker, where he's very critical of the Jedi. He brings up a lot of legitimate points about their flaws, and maybe he is not led his life in the best way, but all his criticisms are legit, or at least they're interesting, and it's interesting to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. But I think at a certain point, instead of having the conversation, he just has this sudden out of nowhere come to Jesus moment with Yoda's ghost, which acts like puppet Yoda in disguise and not actual Yoda, who's very serious, which I thought was weird.
I think we've both been watching the Red Letter Media review too much.
He has just this weird spark of inspiration when he's talking to Yoda. He's like, actually, you know what? Everything I said about the Jedi was wrong. We're actually not that bad. It's all good. Rey's a good kid. She's got it. I don't need to worry. I don't need to warn her about everything. And then he dies of being really tired, which I also thought was annoying.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. One, how long has it been since you've seen The Last Jedi?
When I saw it in theater.
Okay. So the thing about the whole Rey-Kylo Ren thing is that they have this connection that's forging. Kylo thinks he can turn her to the dark side. Mm-hmm. Rey thinks she can turn him to the light side. The point that they intersect is when they both feel that they're on the same page, where Rey thinks that he's going to the light side because he just killed the big baddie.
Yeah.
And Kylo thinks that she's helping him and turning to the dark side because he killed the big baddie and they killed everyone. So Kylo's like, oh, good. We're in this together. We can rule the galaxy. And she's in it like, oh, good. He killed the bad guy. He's coming to the light side of the Force. And you can just see her face completely drop when she's just like, oh, don't do this, Ben. Oh, really? You're going to do it. And it has my favorite insert shot in the whole movie when he reaches out his hand. Fuck, it's a good insert. All of the insert shots in The Last Jedi are really fantastic, but I digress. So that's why, that's why it seems like they're going to transcend something, but really they're just both so far in one side or the other. And she's, of course, a light side because she actively explored the dark side of the Force. Instead of like Jedi who cut themselves off from it, she explored into it, and she found that there's nothing there for her, making her, the Puritan, white, pure, good Jedi, which is why it's fitting that she's wearing white in Rise of Skywalker. Whereas Kylo Ren sees this as him killing his master is his ultimate ascension into the dark side of the Force to become the ultimate leader. And if you need to connect it to the rest of the prequels, him doing that, having Rey as his apprentice, even though he continues to say through the movie, let the past die, kill the past, let it die, kill it if you have to. The whole movie, he just continues to not do that. And in fact, he continues to also not learn from his mistakes. So one of the big issues that, one of the pet peeves I have is when people say, oh, The Last Jedi, the moral of... What do you think the moral of The Last Jedi is? Like, if it had a theme running through it, what would the theme of The Last Jedi be? Aside from that Finn is fucking stupid.
I mean, the theme, as explicitly stated out loud to the camera by Luke Skywalker, is learn from the past and do better in the future.
We must learn from our mistakes. Actually, we have to learn from our failure because it's the greatest teacher. Because, again, it's a movie about people failing.
Yeah. Which is fine. I have no problem with that being the theme.
What is it? Raiders of the Lost Ark is a movie entirely centered around people failing. Indiana Jones fucks up every single thing in that movie. But it's also done by Spielberg, and it's done at a breakneck pace, and we tend not to notice how much of a fuck-up it is.
So my problem with Last Jedi is then, what do the characters learn from their failures?
What does each character learn?
Yeah, what do they learn from their failures? Because I felt like they didn't... Like, that was the other pet peeve I had was, again... They make these mistakes, and it's like, okay, they're going to learn from them and do better next time. And Finn and Poe, kind of?
Poe learns from his mistakes. Poe is the most clear.
Because he's like, okay, no more playing cowboy. We should just run and live to fight another day.
We need to think strategically. We can't just blow everything up.
Yeah,
because
like, all right,
every single decision he made led to more and more casualties. Directly led. So his arc is clear.
His arc's pretty clear. The other ones, I'm not so certain about, because I couldn't see where Luke learned from his mistakes, other than maybe cutting himself off from the Force was a mistake, and then he, reattaches himself to the Force so he can use it to save people. It's like, okay, so, but that's not the real mistake.
So the mistake so Luke's failure was Ben Solo. He failed Ben by not teaching him correctly. And he believes that because he failed with Ben, he should never pass down any of his lineage. He shouldn't continue the Jedi. He shouldn't try and strive to make, a perfection of the Jedi. So his failure is
fuck anybody.
He clearly. I am on Luke's celibate island.
Oh God! What's really disturbing is the thought
is that Palpatine had sex.
Had sex.
If
Rey's his granddaughter, that means Palpatine had sex. That's so gross.
I was trying to do the math with one of my buddies. I was like, okay, if this takes place 30 years after the original trilogy, and Rey is 20, we'll say 20, 23, whatever. She's 23. Okay, so then Palpatine had to have a kid when his, at what
probably
point?
In between episodes 3 and 4.
Either between episodes 3 and 4. Yeah.
But who's he fucking?
I don't know. I don't know.
Who's Emperor Palpatine's wife?
Baby why? Mama. I don't get it. That's
so gross.
It's baffling. That's another reason why it's the worst thing. But quickly, going back to Luke. So Luke's failure with Kylo, and then he fails again with Rey, but then because his failure is that he thinks that the Jedi should die, when really it's that sometimes you need a hero to appear. He basically spells out what he's going to do at the end of the movie. You want me to face down the entire First Order with a laser sword? Motherfucker, he did, because that's what they needed. It's not necessarily important that he presently is there, but that he can inspire hope, which is dashed in Rise of Skywalker. But it's that idea that even if he's failed with training Kylo Ren, it doesn't mean that he needs to learn from it. Learn that maybe you don't open up your lightsaber when you sense that someone's going to the dark side, and trust that maybe they'll be able to find the light. You know, don't kill your nephew off the spur of a moment, which again was a passing thing. It was only an instant. It was a brilliantly acted scene. I love that scene. So that was it was him going from being completely cut off and believing his best result is to be completely detached from everything, and learning that it's not necessarily the case. Even if he doesn't believe it anymore, he should still be a symbol of hope for people. Rey believes that she needs to find a hero, and that she has a place in the galaxy, and she's looking for her place in the galaxy. And she thinks that she can find it through Han Solo, through Luke Skywalker, through a connection to her parents. And she has to learn that even if all of those people fail her, which they all do, she can find a place in the galaxy, because instead of her finding the hope for the future, she is the hope for the future. And then Finn just fucks up. I mean, I know what Finn's arc is. His arc is about going from being a pansy and because again, at the end of The Force Awakens, the only reason he does what he does isn't because he believes in the Resistance. He only does that because he wants to fuck Rey. So he's like that. There's a reason why Poe is like, I bet you have a million questions, and his first question is, "Where's Rey?" Kid's got something on the mind. So, that's kind of where each character goes. He goes from obsessed with Rey to finding something to fight for, finding a reason to fight for something. DJ, who I feel like goes underrated because Benicio del Toro just looks like he's having a really good time, and it is kind of depressing that he does turn on them, and I would have loved to see him reappear in this movie at some point. But
I don't know, maybe he'll pop up in The Mandalorian or some shit.
Well, The Mandalorian takes place before this, so they're gonna have to use
that. He'll be young Benicio del Toro. He'll be digitally de-aged.
They'll have the de-aged Carrie Fisher face and Mark Hamill face from the end of The Rise of Skywalker. It's Leia's saber, which I like.
Also, I love how the digital character is shrouded in darkness, so you can just barely see how terrible the compositing is.
The problem with Carrie Fisher's performance in this movie, aside from the fact that it does look like it's clearly from different scenes, the way that the cadence that they choose her lines from, they should have probably gone to a documentarian to find the right line readings on that. But also the body double that they chose for her is 30 pounds thinner than Carrie Fisher was at the time. It's really bad.
Yep. With your notes about The Last Jedi, I kind of see what you're getting at. I still don't buy it. Because I think the way to do it in a story like that is the character's lessons should address the mistake directly, not in this. I think it feels like a stretch. I can see that interpretation making sense, but that's not how I interpret it. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I understand. And again, I also let you off way too easily a lot of the time, I realize. I don't challenge you enough. But I also, I'm hesitant to say you should rewatch it. Especially after watching The Rise of Skywalker. I'm hesitant. But there's so many, in addition to, I like the way that the movie kind of is circular. It's a very circular movie because, Rey, what do you think the Force is? It's moving a lot of rocks around. It's amazing how everything you said in that sentence is wrong. What does she have to do at the end? She's got to move rocks around.
Yeah, I mean, the circularity of it does grate on my nerves a little bit.
See, I like the circularity of it.
Because I think that's also why it feels like there's no growth, because it is so circular.
Right.
It's it feels like the lessons that the characters learn from their failings is I tried this thing, it didn't work, or it didn't work the way I wanted it to, so I just got to go back to the way I was before. You know what I mean? Luke Skywalker tries to be his relationship to the Force changes. He thinks the best thing is to cut himself off from it.
Originally,
and then he's well, okay, that was a mistake. The way to remedy it is to just go back to the way things were when I was, in episode 6 or whatever. but without the dark kind of undertones of that movie.
Yeah, I guess, but
Or like,
it's like a tactical thing because instead of facing Kylo Ren head on, he's facing him in a way that also saves the Resistance.
Well,
somehow.
But he could also save the Resistance by facing him head on.
Yeah, although I mean, like, see, here's
like, okay, and also
wait, hold on,
maybe
hold
if
on.
he was there in person, he wouldn't have died of a stroke or whatever, or of exhaustion.
Right. He wouldn't have died because his force power bar went all the way down and it ate into his health. We get back to the video gaming of Star Wars.
Which is also like, again, it's really, I hate that. It's like, oh, he used too much force and now he's dead. It's like Luke Skywalker's just fat and out of shape because he hasn't used the force so much. So when he tried to run a mile, he had a heart attack and died.
They establish it early on in the movie because Rey is there and she tries to shoot Kylo Ren and he's like, "How are you doing this? Doing this the strain of doing this would kill you," and that's how you know that Luke's gonna die. That's how they set it up. They again, it's weird because it's all like, for the most part, it's all set up really clearly early on. But like you said, some of the execution, because I've watched it so many times, I can understand where Holdo's coming from when she doesn't tell Poe, because let's face it, Poe's a fucking cocky asshole, and he consistently disobeys orders. So why would I tell you orders when literally your general told you to back out of a battle because it will cost dozens of lives, and you proceed to go into the battle anyway? Why the fuck would I tell you anything? You're lucky you got demoted to captain. But it's okay.
He not only proceeds to go to the battle anyway, he makes yo mama jokes the whole time.
He does. Although, as one Dan Olson said, it's fun watching like super fascist Nazi General Hux like spout out all of these super aggressive things just to be confronted with, "I'm still holding." And then to him, like, walking forward, he's like, "I can hear you. Can you hear me?" Which, by the way, Domhnall Gleeson, that poor asshole, you know he was doing this movie literally for the paycheck. Out of all of the characters in this, out of all the characters in this, he was the one who was like, he read the script. He's like, "This is bullshit. I'm going to dial it in." He's like, "Let me go and do the Peter Rabbit sequel. That's more worth my time than Star Wars."
Well, it seems like there's a lot of actors who are very excited to be in Star Wars, and then over the Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker are just like, "Oh God, this was a terrible decision. I need to just get out of here fast." Like, I feel like Domhnall Gleeson was like, J.J. Abrams comes up to him and is like, "Hey, kid, you want to be in Star Wars?" Like, "Fuck yeah, I want to be in Star Wars. That's awesome." And then
Star Wars would be great.
By the time The Last Jedi is halfway done filming, he's like, "You know what? I should never have done that." Or like Kelly Marie Tran, who I don't think anyone had ever heard of before The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Imagine being like some completely unknown actress. You get approached or you audition for this, and someone's like, "Hey, kid, you're going to be in Star Wars." Like she must be so
just that,
fucking
you're going to be
excited.
A main character in a Star Wars movie.
Important character in a Star Wars movie. She must have been like on the moon. It's like, "Oh my God, this is awesome. This is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm so excited." And then like as soon as The Last Jedi comes out, she's like, "You know what? This was a bad idea."
She's like, she's looking at The Last Jedi. She's like, "That was great." She walks out the door. "I hate Rose Tycho. What kind of name is Tycho? I hate Rose because of her fat face and her the fact that she's in love with Finn." I'm like, poor Kelly Marie Tran. She's just,
I know,
like,
poor
I'm trying
kid.
to exist.
Yeah, like
world.
Anyone who is in her position, like a complete unknown, who gets into Star Wars either by referral or by audition, like, you're not going to say no. You're going to take that role because it's fucking Star Wars, and everyone loves Star Wars, even if these last couple movies are shite.
Hey, Solo, awesome.
Fuck you. I don't need to know the origin of the stripe on Han Solo's pants, okay?
Oh my God, I wish they addressed that in the movie now. But he wears a different outfit in it. Also, what's with J.J. Abrams' obsession with having Han Solo wear the blue jacket from Empire? Like, in the trilogy, he wears the black vest more often.
You know, man.
Oh,
I
right,
don't
because
know.
call
Why
back to the
does-
good Star Wars movie. Fuck you, J.J. Abrams.
I mean, fuck you to Disney, man. They're cranking out some shit right now. God, the whole idea of Han Solo is one of the most like ill-conceived pieces of fan service I've ever heard of. It's like every
Solo
little the Solo movie, like every little detail, every little innocuous, inconsequential detail about Han Solo's appearance. Let's like develop a lousy throwaway 2-minute origin for that, and then chain those together to make a movie.
Okay.
And also for that stupid Darth Maul is back.
Wait. Hold on. Did you see the movie? Solo. The first half of the movie, yeah, I agree. There's a little too much. How did Han Solo get his blaster? I didn't really need to know that. How did Han Solo get his last name? I didn't need to know that. Surprisingly, they didn't do how did Han Solo get that scar underneath his chin. That's the real thing that we needed to know. But they introduced Chewbacca maybe a quarter of the way into the movie, and then they realized that a Han Solo movie should literally be a buddy cop movie with Han Solo as one guy, Chewbacca as the other. They just play off of each other and go on wild adventures. And you know what? That's a recipe for excellence, sir.
Do they get the dynamic correctly between the two? Where like Han Solo's an idiot and then Chewbacca's the smart one, but you can't understand what he's saying?
My favorite line in the whole movie is Han Solo's walking out because they just made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. And he goes, "Yep, Chewie, how does it feel to make the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs?" And Chewie goes, and Han goes, "Not if you round down, buddy." And it's like, yep, that is the quintessential Han Solo line. And there's a lot of great moments like that. There's a lot of like Han Solo fake bullshit bluster, and maybe one too many times the fake bullshit bluster gets totally upended by something happening.
Yeah.
But like it's legitimately like a fun ride. Now with that said, a lot of people find it boring because they're like, "Oh, well, why would I watch a movie where I know the main character is gonna live?" Like, I don't know, man. I don't know why you would watch that movie.
I don't know.
Why do you watch
anyone watch Rogue One?
Like, why do you watch movies that are based off of books? I don't know. You know which characters are gonna live and die in those things. I don't know, man. Logic.
In all fairness,
I've
I
been
only
owned.
read. In all fairness, I only watch movies adapted from books that I haven't read.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I understand the case for people who don't want to see prequels, but the idea of like, oh, there's no dramatic tension because the main character is gonna live. I find that to be very odd because if you go into an Indiana Jones movie, you know that the main character is gonna live. The question is, how is he gonna get out of those situations? Yeah, like No Time to Die. Fuck, I can't wait for that movie.
Dude, No Time to Die is the most James Bondy title for a movie because it has both time and die in it.
And he's gonna deny both of them.
It's like every Bond movie has some title. It's like Kill Again, Yesterday's Tomorrow or something.
Tomorrow Never Dies in the Wrong Time. License to Die.
It's always like something about killing or something about time, like either time, yesterday, tomorrow, the future, the past, whatever, kill, die, death. So this is like the perfect. No Time to Die is the most generic Bond title ever.
Yep. It's like there was a game that came out called Nobody Lives Forever, and I was like, fuck, dude. That's an excellent Bond. That's an excellent Bond sounding title. Even though there's no Bond movie explicitly titled that thing, it just has that feel. You immediately... Yeah,
because it mentions death and time. It's great.
Like, I'm really excited for No Time to Die. But we have bigger fish to fry.
We do. Do we?
The twists.
Wait, what twists? I thought the movie played the... So I had this conversation with my brother on the way to the theater. I'm like, okay, it's prediction time. What are the worst twists we can think of?
Ooh, this movie hit all of them, didn't they?
Well, here's the ironic thing. I had crazy twists in mind, like Rey is secretly Anakin Skywalker reincarnated as a woman.
That's so good, though.
They travel through time. Well, exactly. It's so bad. It's brilliant.
It's good.
Or like the story involves time travel and like Endgame, which I still haven't seen, but like they go back in time to all the other movies and fix things that fans complained about. So like I know Endgame doesn't do that, but they do have time travel. But it's like you go back to point of complaint in
Deadpool
all
2.
the previous movies. Yeah, and tweak them so like it's like, hey, look, we retconned it so you can't complain. It's like Disney's live action adaptations of their 90s movies. We went back and fixed things people didn't like, even though
fixed
like
things that didn't need fixing.
We fixed things that didn't need fixing, exactly. So I thought I was throwing out like crazy stuff like that. And then my brother said the worst thing they could possibly do is play the premise entirely straight. And I'm like, what do you mean? The worst thing they could do is Palpatine is just back and that's it, and they have to beat him, and Rey is like a Palpatine or a Skywalker or something. And I'm like, fuck, you're right. Playing it straight is the worst thing they could have done. And that's
guess
what they
what
did.
happened? Oh my god. Your brother is brilliant.
He is. He's so on the nose. It's crazy.
Oh my god. But it's true. It's like there's and again, Kylo Ren has nothing to do in this because they made him so irredeemable in The Last Jedi. They're like, oh, well, why do you want him to be redeemed? We don't. Mm-hmm. We want him to kill more people and do badass things. Oh, no, he's going to repair his mask. And he's going to walk with the fucking... There, that's another retcon. Repairing the mask. What the fuck?
I know.
It makes no sense.
That was like an important... Like, again, it's part of the first half of The Last Jedi, which I thought was great, where he destroys his mask. It's like a change in his character.
It's such a great moment, too. But, like, yeah, okay. We're going to put on the mask again. And then it's like, it would be cool if the mask maybe had some properties or they did something visually interesting with the mask. But then he just takes it off halfway through the movie again.
Yeah, I was hoping it would be half his old mask and half Darth Vader's mask or something.
Oh, that would have been badass. But no, we went with the predictable thing. Oh, we didn't like that he took off his mask. Why? Adam Driver acts better without his mask on.
Exactly.
That's why he's...
Speaking of Adam Driver, another thing my brother and I noticed and commented on was, I don't know what it is, but it feels like in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, his nose is smaller. And then in this movie, it's fucking gigantic.
I think it's because he lost weight between... Because he looks thin in Rise of the Skywalker. Also because he doesn't... His collar for his shirt doesn't go up as high. But I mean, also, because he's a guy. Maybe his nose just got bigger.
I don't. Maybe because it was weird. Like when I first saw The Last Jedi, and he takes off his helmet for the very first time. I'm like, Adam Driver's nose is not that small. Like it's not that proportionally normal compared to his face. Like one of his trademarks, if you've seen him in any of his early roles, is he has this giant schnoz. And it kind of gives him some character, It gives him like this sort of 70s character actor vibe, which is cool. But like it feels like they digitally shrunk his nose for The Force Awakens so he didn't like scare people. And then in The Last Jedi, he has his helmet off for most of the movie, and again, his nose looks a lot smaller. It looks like a more normal-sized nose for a guy with his face. And then suddenly, in Rise of Skywalker, his nose is back to being gigantic. And I don't know if they just didn't have the budget to digitally
I don't think they had the time. That's a lot of scenes.
Or the time.
Like, that's why they had him in the mask in the beginning. They're like, all right, how many scenes can we get him without the nose?
Or there's a lot of shots where his face is filmed from like 3/4. So it's the worst possible angle if you're trying to like make it very flattering and make him look handsome, because it's just like boom, like just shooting out into space like a Star Destroyer.
I think they also, the lenses that they used in it, like I know it's gonna sound weird, but like there's that one moment in The Rise of Skywalker where they try to mimic The Last Jedi, where he puts his hand up to like he's like, I'm gonna offer you my hand one more time, and he puts his hand up and like
offer my hand in marriage.
Yeah, seriously. I'm already wearing a tuxedo. You're already wearing a white dress. Let's do this. Palpatine can read our vows. Finn could be
Symbolism
my best man.
101.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's just it. Like the costume symbolism for Rey is like the opposite of Luke Skywalker, because Luke goes from pure white to pure black, and then Rey goes from like gray to black to white. Anyway, not important. We've already discussed that part. But like just like the way that J.J. Abrams shoots movies, the way that Rian Johnson and Steve Edlund shoot movies are different, and because of that, I think like the lenses weren't as flattering, but also you can kind of tell that they just really didn't have as much prep as they needed for this movie. Not just from a script standpoint. I mean, it's amazing
from an everything
to think
standpoint.
from an everything standpoint, because the movie came together in like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
He had to jump in because Colin Trevorrow's a fucking dumbass and he's horrible and oh God, Jurassic World 3. You know who thinks that's a good idea? Colin Trevorrow, and that's it. But like he fucked up so much. And then J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio are like, well, maybe we can come in and right the ship. And Disney's like, can you? And then J.J. Abrams lives on the internet for 2 years and like shits out a script that he thinks is like, well, this will appease the fans and this will probably appease me. There were some elements I liked. Like I liked that Finn is Force sensitive. I thought that was something that was established in The Force Awakens and then completely dropped in The Last Jedi. And I think it's dropped in The Last Jedi to its detriment. But then they kind of bring it back here to kind of harken back to the whole idea of the Force can manifest itself in anyone as long as they're a side character. So, like, I think that's the guiding principle between, like, the stormtroopers who defect. I like that Poe has more of a side story, but I don't think that you needed to make him a smuggler, because the one thing that we don't need are more drug runners in Star Wars. It's like, oh, well, it's a good thing Han Solo's a shitty smuggler. Now Finn's a shitty smuggler, and Finn's girlfriend, Poe's a shitty smuggler, and Poe's girlfriend's a shitty smuggler. Like, Poe is more interesting if he's kind of like a dashing debonair pilot. And they're all smuggling
the spice from Dune.
Yeah, dude, that's the spice from Dune, and the spice from fucking Mexico, too. And fucking the spice from... But, I never gave it much thought, but Aaliyah's brother leans over to me, and he's like, you know what they mean by spice runners, right? And I was like, motherfucker, they're smuggling drugs. They're smuggling the cocaine.
Well, yeah,
or the spice from
drugs.
Dune.
But it's a Dune reference, yeah.
Was it all the way back in the 70s, too? That's what he meant?
Yeah, that's what he meant. He was intentionally referencing Dune.
Oh, wow.
Because, in Dune, the spice is a drug.
It is,
as well.
It is.
It's a drug that allows you to, like, bend space, which is awesome.
Only if you're trained in the, Bene Gesserit, or however it's pronounced.
No. If you're a navigator.
Fuck, dude. Dune is such a good book, and I'm half looking forward to the movie.
Oh, I'm so not looking forward to the movie. I don't want a slow crawl of freaking Timothée Chalamet
slow push-ins from Roger Deakins as Denis Villeneuve's like, yes, and Timothée Chalamet continue not to act. And like Timothée Chalamet just gives like the same performance in The King as he does in Dune. It's like, oh man, it looks pretty. Speaking of things that are pretty, this movie is ugly. It's like they had one color palette. The entire color palette of the movie was like dull teal.
Yeah, well, it's the opening kind of montage of Kylo Ren making his way to Exegol and then being on Exegol is very visually striking, and then the rest of the movie is not visually interesting at all.
At all. It's like, that's what I mean by J.J. Abrams regressed, because it's not even that the cinematography is monotone, which it is, because I mean, again, we go from red planet to blue planet to brown planet to blue planet to blue planet to blue planet. So it's very like monotone throughout the movie. But then added to that, there's not a lot of contrast. Like there aren't any really heavy shadows. Except Exegol, where it's all just one. Where it's all shadows. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess they did find their black setting there. Okay, cool. But like the rest of it is like, what happened to all of the interesting highlights you had in The Force Awakens? What happened to the dichotic color scheme of red and blue going throughout the whole movie? Like, what were you guys thinking when you put this together? And why does
hurry up? That's what they were thinking.
Yeah, they're like, oh, get the shot. Oh, run faster. But like,
talk faster. Be more snappy.
But see, I liked that. I like snappy dialogue. I like fast dialogue. Hey, why is my droid on fire? I don't know. Why is my ship on fire? I don't know. Why is Finn on fire? Oh, because Finn's useless. That's why. Oh. Again. They never figure out what to do with Finn.
No, they don't.
Like,
I don't entirely think they know what to do with Poe either.
Why does this movie end the same way The Force Awakens ends? Like, why does it end with all three characters separated in like a shitty battle that people don't understand what's going on? Like, I've seen the movie twice, so I know how they get to Exegol. I know the reason why the fleet needs the radio tower in order to leave Exegol. I know why Finn has to be the ground crew on the fucking on the main TIE fighter in Exegol. I know why Rey is fighting Palpatine on Exegol. But it all comes together kind of like if you watch The Force Awakens and you're like, what are they doing? Why are there no space battles in Star Wars? Why is it a planet battle? It's the same thing here where it's like the one thing that Rogue One does really well is make it explicitly clear what everyone is doing in the last battle. It's the one thing that I think is absolutely perfect. That does not happen in this movie at all.
No. One thing, just to go back to The Last Jedi so I can crap on it a little bit more.
Yeah.
One thing that really frustrated me about it was like...
Was that they went to Crate after... Was that like they had this big battle scene and then you're like, oh fuck, there's one more planet?
Well, no, it's that every big battle scene is like... it's almost done like a naval battle where you have all the ships line up facing each other and then they go forward until they kind of cross paths and shoot. And then maybe they go linear. And it's like, you're in outer fucking space, man. You can go in 360 degrees, but you're on a two-dimensional plane, you know? Like, there's no three-dimensionality to any of the vehicular battles, which drove me crazy. And also going to Crate where it looks like it's snow, and it's like, oh, this is a Hoth reference. And the guy just licks the fucking ground, and he's like, it's not snow, it's salt. Gotcha, fans. Like, seriously? We didn't need that. Like, why can't we just imagine it's snow and say it's a lazy reference to Hoth? Why do you have to lick the ground, look directly into the camera, and say, it's salt?
I agree with you. I agree that it's so bad. But I love it because it's so fucking stupid. Like, again, you have to have those. You have to be okay with having stupid references in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stupid shit that happens in Star Wars movies. It's part of it.
Yeah, I agree with you that the battle sequences in this
are...
I was just going to say, I agree with you that the battle sequences in Rise of Skywalker, even though they do have some three-dimensionality to it, which is a nice change of pace, are not very interesting.
Yeah, it's not that they're not interesting or good, it's that they're very hard to follow, because the crux of it is kind of interesting. And, oh, by the way, did you miss the Wedge cameo?
The Wedge cameo?
Yeah, Wedge Antilles.
Is Wedge the... Oh, yeah.
He's the old guy who comes out
of... Hey, I remember that guy.
He's like, hey there, I have one line... Oh, they cut me off halfway through my line.
What if Dak had a cameo and everyone just forgot that he died? I feel like Dak is one of those guys who maybe if we watched the original trilogy closely, we would notice that he dies twice and they just forgot.
They just have the same guy in there.
Yeah, he gets blown up in two different vehicle battles.
Or they just hire the guy who played as Porkins twice. Like,
oh, so speaking of the ending being a fucking disaster.
Yes.
I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who works in a VFX house that was hired on by Lucasfilm to do some of the visual effects for Rise of Skywalker. And he was saying that about like they kept changing the endings for it. So like they would have to redo the entire ending because whatever ending they would show in test screens was not testing well. And so like 3 months before the movie was due to be released, they had 3 different endings. And no one knew which one they were going to use because they were, according to the VFX guy, he thought all 3 were terrible. And none of them tested that well. But they picked one of them. So I wonder what the other 2 were like.
I really want to know too. It's like how Spider-Man 3 had 5 different endings.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So it's like really close to the film's release. It had 3 different endings and they couldn't pick which one they wanted.
Did you hear that the VFX in Cats wasn't done by the time Universal sent it out to them? And there's actual proof. You can actually see how they didn't make Judi Dench's hand furry. Like you can see her hand with her wedding ring on it. Like,
you know, somehow Tom Hooper being incredibly unprofessional does not strike me as being that odd.
I'm sorry, I released it after a 36-hour finishing session. Like, oh god.
It's like, oh yeah, here's my movie. It's not done because I don't give a shit.
Oh god, it's so awful. Like because The King's Speech has problems, but man, Jeffrey Rush and Colin Firth carry the fuck out of that movie. Like, all of the main actors are great.
Yeah, it's a decent movie.
Somehow he ends up on, like, the good side of that movie. But holy shit, Everything else he's done, I just do not get how he still gets work. Like, people want to shit on Rian Johnson for The Last Jedi. That's fine, but over in this corner,
at least his other movies are good.
can you imagine if they gave Tom Hooper Episode 9? Like, he'd be all like, oh no, I don't want to work on Star Wars. I prefer artistic projects like Cats. You know, like, what the oh god. But
I want to direct Les Mis, but make it look like Children of Men.
I want to direct Les Mis, but make it look like Children of Men, and get really close to every actor's face so they don't feel comfortable singing, and then use that track as my main track. Do you guys think this is a good idea? No, we don't. I've already done it.
It's already over.
It's already over.
It's like, Anne Hathaway, what did you do to prepare for your Oscar-winning role? It's like, well, Tom Hooper had me watch all of John Hurt's scenes from Alien, and that's my inspiration for fucking Pantene or whatever.
How did you prepare for this role? Tom Hooper forced me to strip, and I didn't want to, and then he recorded.
Oh
God. Tom Hooper's an awful director.
Well, and then there's The Danish Girl, which is the movie that is designed only to win awards for its actors and has no other purpose.
No.
And didn't it win awards for its actors? Fuck! The world is a terrible place.
Instead of Alicia Vikander winning an award for Ex Machina, she won an award for The Danish Girl. And the world makes no sense at all. Can I just say I hate the fucking Knights of Ren?
They're so lame.
The part I knew I was going to hate sections of this movie are when the Knights of Ren are walking past the stormtroopers. The stormtrooper turns to the other one, explicitly tells us who they are, Knights of Ren. The other stormtrooper says, goals. And I wanted to shoot myself. So, which brings us back to J.J. Abrams filming. J.J. Abrams has this... Like, I would love to blame Rian Johnson for all of the humor problems in The Last Jedi, but I have a feeling some cackling executive at Lucasfilm loved all of the awkward Finn moments where he's like, I'm in charge now, I'm in charge, I'm the man, I'm in charge, or, oh, why, you have some family on there, you got a boyfriend? You know, all of those awkward Finn moments, or
and how everything's kind of shot and acted like a comedy.
Yeah, and they're like, Ryan, you need to put more of this in. And he's like, but I already have this great script where I don't have to do that. And he's like, no. That scene with Poe, make it a Yo Mama joke. And he's like,
that scene where Poe talks like a kid on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
Put it back in.
But again, Domhnall Gleeson is so great in that scene that it's like, oh, all right, I'll ignore it, Finn. Or Poe. But, you know, then Poe continues to talk like that throughout the whole movie. Wait, I don't understand. Wait. What, you blow something up? Wait, no, I blow something. Actually, I like that. I think that moment's funny. You blow that up? I blow that up? Who's blowing that up? Who's blowing what up?
I don't
Carrie
know, man.
Fisher, awkward.
Like, a lot of the humor in Last Jedi and
Rise of Skywalker
just
and
fell
Force
flat.
Awakens.
Force Awakens, that's not how the Force works joke, I thought was really funny.
All of the Harrison Ford improv in his, like, we talked about Harrison Ford's improv before, or Harrison Ford's cadence before.
Oh, he has the single funniest line in A New Hope, so he's got some comedic timing. I think.
How are you?
Yeah, it's like
we're all fine now. Everyone's fine.
Yes,
we're all fine.
We're fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine.
How are you?
How are you? Like, that's hilarious.
It's great, and he's great in The Force Awakens when he like goes over.
He does have good comedic moments.
Like what's his name? Finn goes over and he's like, "Hey, Solo, I'm kind of a big deal in the Resistance. They always know." He's like, what the fuck? And then the rest of the movie, he calls Finn Big Deal, and it's great. Yeah, I understand why they want to bring Harrison Ford back. And yes, even though he sleepwalks through his scene with Adam Driver, which is probably one of the better scenes of the movie because it lets Adam Driver act and it lets Harrison Ford act.
It's one of the only callbacks that actually like works.
Pays off well.
Because it's a callback that makes thematic sense in terms of like, in like a Last Jedi sort of way where he made a mistake, he learns his lesson and directly addresses the mistake.
Yeah. It works well. Like, I hated it when I actually thought that would be a point where you would come to me and be like, this is stupid. why bring back old ass Harrison Ford?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, but I genuinely like that scene. I think that scene works really well.
Yeah, I like it too.
And I think the only reason we get it is because J.J. Abrams is directing it. Because I think he and Harrison, which he calls him, formed a really strong bond when they did The Force Awakens. So he's like, sure, I'll go in as long as I'm paid the exact same I made for The Force Awakens.
Didn't Harrison Ford like save J.J. Abrams' life on that set?
Did he?
I thought like a door fell on J.J. Abrams, and then Harrison Ford lifted it off of him or something.
Holy
or maybe
shit.
it was the other way around.
I don't know. Harrison Ford gets into a lot of accidents.
I know. Well, I remember one of those two broke his arm, and then the other one broke his back because a door fell on one of them, and the other guy had to lift it off.
Okay, I know that Harrison Ford's back was fucked up for Blade Runner 2049, which makes it look like he runs a lot worse than he does, but that's just how Harrison Ford runs.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say?
There's a lot. I mean,
I don't know. There's one point though that was sticking out, and I completely forgot. Oh yeah, one person that I keep wishing they'll bring back that they never have the balls to do is Hayden Christensen.
They kind of did, but I'm with you.
Well, they have. Okay, he has like a little voice cameo, which is the coward's way out, by the way.
Yes, it is. Yes,
he needs to be on screen. You need to see his face. Like he's got to be there. You can't just be like, we're with you, Ray. We're with you, Ray. We're with you, Ray. We're with you, Ray.
The Force flows through you, Ray.
You underestimate my power.
Wait, have you seen?
I like how his line delivery has not changed at all.
Have you? Okay, so I actually have an interesting thing about that. But have you seen the meme of Darth Vader talking to Luke, and I believe it's Return of the Jedi, and he's like, Obi-Wan has taught you well, and Vader's on the floor and Luke is on a staircase.
Oh yeah, or something. It's like, wait, Obi-Wan is on the floor, Luke is on the staircase.
No, Darth Vader's like standing on like floor level, and Luke Skywalker's above him on a staircase.
Oh yeah, and
Vader's like, Obi-Wan has taught you well.
Well, no, there's that one bit where in Return of the Jedi where he's standing up on that ledge, and Darth Vader's down below. And someone, doctored it up, so he's just like, it's over, Darth Vader, I have the high ground. And Vader's like, fuck you! And just throws his lightsaber.
Oh, man. Oh, God, Star Wars the meme. Yeah, I wish that they did bring more Hayden Christensen, because heaven knows Liam Neeson had a long-ass line in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they used Alec Guinness's voice too, but I couldn't tell.
The Force will be with you, always.
You must do what you feel is right, of course, Ray.
I feel like I want Hayden Christensen to have like a redemption story where he gets like one little cameo as Anakin Skywalker, and it's well acted, and everyone's like, yay, he's not terrible, we forgive you. But no, they never want to give him that.
Can you imagine if they had Mark Hamill like interact with Hayden Christensen Force Ghost? Also,
that would have been awesome.
You know how everyone hates that scene in Episode 3 where after, the suit is on Vader and he's like, where's Padme?
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean she's dead? She was alive! Blah, 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 blah. No! James Earl Jones's cadence in that scene directly mimics Hayden Christensen's. It is amazing. Like, because obviously they had on-set recordings, and so like James Earl Jones, when he wheelchairs himself into the booth, he's like, okay, let me hear how it was said, and then he mimicked it like almost exactly, which I'm wondering if that's how they did it in the original trilogy, which is why you have that awkward moment where he's like, a spirit I haven't felt since, and then he just leaves. Like, there's all these, like, awkward moments where I wonder if James Earl Jones is trying to match the cadence of David Prowse in the original trilogy and then match the cadence of Hayden Christensen in that one scene in Episode 3. But I was watching it and I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, I didn't remember this thing happened.
That gives me a lot of extra respect for James Earl Jones, if that is the case.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for James Earl Jones as well, even though... Like, I even respect him for going back and doing the live-action Lion King. Like, I understand it was a paycheck, and I understand that that's probably the thing he's done that was, like, the third most important after Voice of CNN, Star Wars, Mufasa. Boom. James Earl Jones's career.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Let's see. The dyad. I keep trying to bring it back to Rise of Skywalker. Let me actually address something in this. Okay, so Rise of Skywalker. Everyone was like, oh, maybe Skywalker is going to become the new Jedi type, which I was like, oh, that's stupid. But
Wait,
then they're going
what?
the new, instead of like a Jedi, they're going to be like, oh, maybe there's a new type of like, Force sensitive being, and they're going to be called Skywalker, which I was like, that's kind of stupid. But in the movie, they talk about how the Sith go all in on emotion, and that's bad. Then they talk about how the Jedi repress all emotion. This movie might not talk about it. The Jedi repress all emotion, and that's bad. But then we see in Force Awakens and we see in Last Jedi, Rey give into her emotions to a degree, and then all of a sudden she kind of is a better Force user because of it, and that's good. So I was thinking it would be interesting if the Skywalker, which is like, I don't know, the new Jedi type, is a meld of a light side user who doesn't cut their emotions off, who uses their emotions to make them stronger, which is what Luke ended up having to do in Return of the Jedi in order to overcome. It wasn't because he cut off his emotion, it's because he embraced them. And that's why he was able to save his father.
I don't know about that. Because I would say Return of the Jedi sets up Luke Skywalker as like he's like halfway to the dark side at this point. Like he's running around strangling people to death.
Yes, that's true.
He goes nuts and tries to murder Darth Vader after he starts talking shit about Leia.
Yeah,
and
it's like when I'm going to find sister.
Yeah, and like he goes crazy, loses control of his anger, almost kills Darth Vader, and then when he sees Darth Vader's mechanical hand and sees his dad kind of slumped on the ground, like, crippled and needing this machine to keep him alive, he looks at his own mechanical hand and he's like, fuck, this is what I'm one step away from turning into that. Yeah. Which is, it kind of works in that sense where it's like he suddenly turns back, but I also think it would have made more sense if it wasn't just he abandons his entire character arc up to that point based on that one realization. But whatever, it's cool.
I mean, I'm a ho-hum Return of the Jedi fan. I think it's grossly overrated as a movie.
I think it's good, but I don't love it, but I think it's good. The primary reason I don't love it is because I have mixed feelings about Luke Skywalker's character arc. Like, I think it had a lot of potential and delivered on some of it, but not all of it.
I will say one weird thing about that is the entire movie, Yoda and Obi-Wan, who, by the way, are kind of horrible teachers. The entire movie, Yoda and Obi-Wan are like, if you want to become a Jedi Knight, you must confront Darth Vader. And Luke reads that as, I can't kill my father. And like Yoda never is like Yoda's playing mind games and he's like, confront him you must. But then like in the back of his mind, Yoda's probably like, I never said kill.
Well,
so, like, that's...
you could almost read that thematically as like, a Jedi's rite of passage is confronting what they fear most.
Yes.
And the thing he fears most is turning into his father.
Right. And that's when he...
I mean, it's true. Yoda and Obi-Wan are kind of shitty teachers because Yoda is like is playing games with him constantly. Obi-Wan straight up lies. He's like, you said, Luke's like, hey, Obi-Wan, you said that Darth Vader killed my father. And then Luke's like, well, yeah, but he kind of did, like in spirit.
From a certain point of view. What the fuck do you mean a certain point of view? What like is this that whole thinking absolutes and Jedis are like, not if you move the pieces in the right place. Like,
he's just like, well, in the poetic interpretation of what I said, I didn't lie. Which, okay, here's
Look, it was good enough for David Lean, all right?
But here's what I think is really brilliant about Star Wars that I don't think it's talked about enough. Like, everyone talks about how Star Wars it's heavily based, it's like an amalgamation of things that have come before, right? It's Akira Kurosawa movies, it's Flash Gordon. It's like all those 1940s serials, it's Hidden Fortress, and it's Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey, all kind of mashed together.
70s psychedelic stuff, The Force Man.
Yeah, but what I think it does really interestingly is that like especially with the hero's journey stuff, like every character in the original trilogy corresponds to a stock character type in the hero's journey or in like Jungian psychology, which was also a huge influence on George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always done with a twist, like a little dose of 1970s cynicism.
Yes.
So like, you know, you have the bright-eyed hero in Luke Skywalker who, you know, he gets the call to adventure, but instead of, you know, always rising to the occasion, he fails quite frequently. He makes an ass of himself. He's kind of annoying. And he has like these inner demons that he has to confront, which is part of the hero's journey. Like you in classic epics, you go to hell and confront your dark side and have to like assimilate it before you can return to the real world and confront the main villain of the story. You know, it's you got Princess Leia, who's like the damsel in distress, the princess who needs saving, dresses in white, so she's very pure, but she's kind of a
fucks
dick.
Up more.
No, she's a jerk. Like she's actively mean to everybody, and also she's more competent with weapons than anyone else.
Anyone else there? Yep.
So like that's its own little twist. You have Han Solo, who's like he's supposed to be the Aragorn type of character, like the dishonored warrior who's become a thief, who survives by his wit and his cunning and his charm and his combat capabilities. But he's really a moron. Everything he does is doomed to failure because he's so fucking stupid. And he talks a big game and then can never deliver. You have Chewbacca, who's like Gimli, you know, he's like the big, dumb brute, the animal man, the beast guy, who's actually like very old and very intelligent. And if you pay attention to his dynamic with Han Solo, secretly runs the show.
Yeah.
You have Obi-Wan, who's the wise wizard who initiates the hero into the journey, but he's a liar and a terrible teacher.
Well, yeah, but after episode 4, because in episode 4 he's still like, you know,
he's
still base Gandalf.
He's still like he completely like flubs, you know, his whole part midway through the movie where he's like, you know, he's confronting like in every kind of old-timey fantasy thing, there's the evil wizard and then the Black Knight, who's the evil wizard's champion. So Darth Vader's the Black Knight, Emperor Palpatine's the evil wizard, ostensibly. Right. You know, the good wizard fights the Black Knight and is like, you know what, just fucking kill me, I don't care.
1, just kill me. 2, I didn't actually deactivate the tractor beam.
Exactly. So it's still like, you know, he still kind of has that like he's bad at being the Gandalf of the story.
He is. Yeah, that's true.
And then the Black Knight's, you know, twist is that he has this built-in relationship with Luke Skywalker, which is not, you know, obviously present in A New Hope, but it is present in the other 2 movies.
Right. And we tying it back into the new trilogy, we already got the whole thing of you come from dark blood. Well, not to be racist. You come from evil blood. You come from evil blood, but you can redeem yourself. And it's like, you know what? We really didn't need the J.J. Abramized version of like, oh, well, Anakin was good, and then he was bad, and then he became good again. In this, it's, the person that you came from is pure evil, but it's okay because you're pure good. Like, J.J. Abrams.
Well, and now if we want to get into like dumb fan theory, fan service, expanded universe bullshit, there's apparently some expanded universe comic book or book that says that, you know,
Palpatine cloned himself.
So part of what makes Anakin interesting is he's like
conceived by Palpatine.
Well, I was about to say he's like a Christ figure. He's got this immaculate conception. He's destined to save the world, and then he ends up destroying it. So it's like that. It subverts expectations
of
the hero's story. That's your twist, and it's
twist.
Cool. It's smart. But then you find out like he was immaculately conceived through Palpatine in whatever stupid book or comic. So that makes Rey and Kylo Ren, I guess, related because Anakin Skywalker is Palpatine's like ghost son. I'm just like, fuck me, man. There's so many like dumb fan theories out there about Star Wars that just drive me crazy because it's like no one needs to be thinking about this shit, and actively thinking about it, I think, cheapens Star Wars. Like there's this whole thing where like there's a big theory that was popularized, especially by The Last Jedi, where it's like the Force is a limited resource, and like the fewer people there are who can tap into it, the more powerful they are with it. It's the reason why the Sith can wreck so many Jedi is because there's only 2 of them. Also, it's equally light and dark. So all the dark side is split 50-50 between 2 Sith, and then it's split like 1,000 ways between all the Jedi. That's why the Jedi get their shit kicked in whenever they fight a Sith Lord in the prequels. And it's also why Luke and Rey are able to train up so quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shut up. That's stupid. That's a dumb idea, and you're making the world a worse place by thinking it.
I will agree.
I always hate things like that. I always hate things that are like,
Yeah.
whatever magic this world operates on is some kind of weird limited resource, and people are competing for shares of it like it's a publicly traded company. That's what I hate about DC Comics, and they're like, well, the Flash isn't just fast. You see, when he was struck by lightning, he tapped into the Speed Force, which is the force of running really fast. And all these other speedsters also have speed midichlorians, and they're fighting each other over shares of the publicly traded Speed Force Incorporated. And I'm like, fuck, man, of all the bad ideas to come out of DC, that is truly one of the worst. But go on.
A lot to unpack. The Speed Force makes it sound like the Flash masturbates really quickly. Secondly, I've heard that theory of the Force being a finite resource that is divided equally and everything like that. I'm not going to say I agree that it's the stupidest thing ever. I'm also not going to say that it's a fan theory because they heavily imply it through the animated series, which are canon. Which I don't like. I don't like it. I don't think it's the stupidest thing ever. I think for a different universe it would be cool. But for Star Wars, I've always gone on record in saying that you can tell the difference between a light side power and a dark side power. Because I'm one of those fools who likes to overthink about Star Wars. Light side power is in harmony with the Force. So like, it's like, oh, we move together. Whereas a dark side power is, I'm going to take the Force and put it in my basket. So that's why, that's one thing that I think is interesting. Of course, they fucked that up because, Force healing, oh, it's draining my Force life force. It's not taking the Force around me. Which, by the way, The Last Jedi, I think, has the best Force explanation out of all of the movies, aside from Episode 4, because listening to Alec Guinness talk about, it's a field of energy that surrounds us and binds us. It's like, oh, that's very satisfying to hear. And then they expand on that in The Last Jedi and kind of, they're like, oh, did you think the Force was moving rocks around like J.J. Abrams did or the video games do? Don't worry, it's not. I actually like that they bring in more of the video game Force powers because the Force as a structured magical thing, a structured magical structured magical system is stupid because it doesn't make any sense. And one thing that I take issue with of the prequels is that the Force is some sort of like resource that people are more or less sensitive in. Like, I just think that's weird because it just limits and everything. It's like, oh, well, like then you get into the whole of like, oh, well, you can only be a Force user if you come from a powerful family. Like, I don't make everyone Force sensitive, and just people who know, and people who don't know, and that's fine. I like that in this movie they finally address the elephant in the room about Carrie Fisher and Leia, and they say, she did her training, she became a Jedi, it's official. Boom, she did it. She could be a Jedi if she wanted to, she decided not to be. Making her lightsaber blue was stupid. Wait, I got one other huge thing to get off my chest. What is this sequel trilogy's obsession with Anakin's blue lightsaber? It's the worst out of all of the lightsabers in the whole series.
Wait, why?
I don't know. I think Luke's green lightsaber is cooler. But for some reason...
I always thought Anakin's lightsaber was the most clean looking.
Really? Yeah. I always like getting into the nitty gritty. Well, first off, Luke's lightsaber looks a lot like Obi-Wan's lightsaber. But I like both of those because of the way that the pommel went. I also like the way that...
I don't like how they pinch in at the very top.
I like that. I like it. I like how it's like a flat plate on the top that pinches in. And I also like the way that Luke's lightsaber sounds when it ignites. But there's this almost fetishized obsession with, like, I feel like J.J. Abrams has with Luke's lightsaber, with the Episode 4, Episode 5 lightsaber.
Anakin's old lightsaber?
Yeah, like I don't get why so much hinges on it, and I don't get like because if Rey really wanted Luke's lightsaber so he could have Luke and Leia's lightsaber at the end, she would have gone back to Ahch-To and gotten his green lightsaber, which he clearly still had.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I think it's interesting just because like Anakin Skywalker is like, he's I guess made of the Force, like he's a Force baby. So I understand if his lightsaber would be like extra super important because of that.
But they never address it as Anakin's lightsaber. They always address it as Luke's lightsaber.
I thought they do address it as Anakin's lightsaber in The Force Awakens.
In The Force Awakens, they address it as Luke's old lightsaber. How did you get this, Maz Kanata? That's a good question for another time. Also known as J.J. Abrams' filmmaking philosophy.
Yeah. Also, Maz Kanata's CGI looks worse somehow.
Yeah.
This movie. Again, she's been completely sidelined by both Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. She's like the Leia surrogate. They're like, everything we wanted Leia to do, if we don't have a line for it, we'll give it to Maz Kanata. Oh, Leia is going into the Force. Oh, Chewie, I finally have a medal for you. Maz, where the fuck did you get that medal from? Did you go grave robbering freaking Han Solo? Come on. That scene where Maz gave Chewbacca the medal, the person who was sitting next to me when I was watching it originally was fucking ugly crying so hard.
Oh no.
It was I could not believe it. I was like, what? Is that like something? Is that like Han's dice, but like flattened into like some sort of coin? It wasn't until after I left the theater that I was like, holy shit, that was a medal. Chewbacca's been waiting 40 years to get a medal, and there it is. The guy next to me was ugly crying. Like, it was the most amazing thing ever. Like, all of the fan service culminated into that moment.
The weirdest moment that I've ever had in a theater watching Star Wars was with Rogue One. I was sitting next to a guy who was just cramming all these snacks throughout the entire movie, making a lot of noise, like popcorn, hot dogs, candy, just the entire movie. Which was kind of irritating. And he looked kind of like a slob. But when Darth Vader whips out his lightsaber and gets ready to murder all those rebel soldiers, I heard him like come, I swear. He was just like, I heard him go like, oh yeah. It was like, oh no.
Like, what's he doing with that sausage? Oh fuck, that's not a sausage. Oh god.
It just turns into The Departed.
He flops it right on top of you. Yeah, Gabe, rub it good.
I know.
Oh god.
Okay, are you one of those people who thinks that lightsaber color matters?
Like as far as strength?
Either or that it means anything other than this is the color that it is.
The only lightsaber color matters thing that I think is that if you're dark side, apparently you have to have a red lightsaber. Yeah, I'm not strict on that, but apparently if you're bad, it's red.
If you're bad, typically it's red, just because in the color symbolism of Star Wars, red is bad, blue and green is good.
Yes.
I don't like all of the reading into what the different colors represent, because it's just like the blue and green ones are just blue and green because they're blue and green. There's nothing to it. And everyone
there's a special skill on the green, all right, Gabe?
Ugh.
Go ahead. What is
or
it?
It's like, or they're like, the purple lightsaber is someone who's between the dark side and the light side. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Hold my beer while I throw up.
Hold my beer while I fucking throw up, okay? The only reason the purple lightsaber exists is because Samuel L. Jackson said to George Lucas, hey, I want my lightsaber to be purple because I like the color purple. And that's it. That's all there is to it.
Agreed.
Its only significance is Samuel L. Jackson likes the color purple. Or like the gold lightsaber at the end of this movie. I wonder what kind of dumb things
she has
people are
found
going to try and extrapolate from
There's
that.
only one gold Kyber crystal, and she had it at the beginning of the movie, and she always had it. Did you notice that her lightsaber is built out of her staff? But for some reason, she didn't make a double-sided lightsaber, which would make sense since she wielded a staff for the majority of her life. I hate you, J.J. Abrams.
Who cares?
I do. But anyway,
yeah.
no,
So I don't know.
I mean, by the time I saw the scissor lightsaber, I had already been like, I know it's not happening. She's got Luke's old lightsaber. She can't do anything original. But I agree with you. I think the idea that because it just opens up another can of worms of like, oh well, if Force users can use Force speed, why don't they always just fight like fucking Dragon Ball Z? Like, no,
I
I
mean,
don't.
Palpatine kind of fights like Dragon Ball Z. Like when he spins out of his chair, does a 920 and starts stabbing people.
That's the best fight scene ever.
I know.
Especially the insert cuts of Ian McDiarmid as he's like clearly having the time of his life. Like, yeah.
Also,
his
I
lightsaber's
like
the
that.
most beautiful though. His fucking gold ass lightsaber, awesome.
I know,
Anyway,
it
go
does
on.
look cool. I like that Rise of Skywalker has a reference to that as well, where Rey is like fighting Kylo Ren on the boat, and then she does the same spin up into the air to change ships or whatever, to change levels. Like as soon as she did that, I just turned to my brother and went, "It's treason, then."
Look, dude, I wish I were in you. I wish I was watching Rise of Skywalker with you, because I think we would have had like a good time with a bad movie. And again,
Yeah.
I actually genuinely enjoy it, because we haven't focused on anything that's good in the movie, because all of the stuff that's good is like sort of like medium good. The music cues actually pissed me off. Like when she goes into the Emperor's throne room, which, how is any of the Death Star still around? Especially that big of a chunk.
Completely blew up, yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why does the planet-based weapons in this movie, like, why do Starkiller Base and the Star Destroyers have the same, like, planet-destroying screwdriver weapon that they had in Star Trek? Like, why? Why the double penetration there? Like,
I don't know,
fuck?
why is everything so unoriginal and hacky? That question is you could apply that to most big blockbusters.
That's true. Why did Ray
Why
go
is
back?
this like that other thing and not something else?
We were talking about the good, but I'm going to actually go and say, remember, I posed this question to you in Austin. Is The Rise of Skywalker going to be The Last Crusade, or is it going to be Return of the Jedi? Because both of those movies were a, quote, return to form, unquote. But the Return of the Jedi was like, they were like, oh, we're going to get the gang back together. Although they got the gang back together in in Rise of Skywalker just for Rey to continually run away from the gang for most of the movie. So I don't know what they were talking about the whole, like, we're putting the gang back together. It's like, but they're not. They're apart for most of the movie. Like, I hate pendulum shift movies, because it really makes the second movie, whether it's good like Empire or not as good like Temple of Doom, it really makes them stand out as being like super awkward. Like watching
The Dark Knight.
or The Dark Knight. It's just really awkward that The Dark Knight, for example, thematically barely fits with Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises. It's weird that the Temple of Doom has no bearing on any of the rest of the movies except for its own. It's really
Well, but
strange
Indiana
when
Jones
that
is
stuff
more
happens.
serial-ish anyway.
It is.
All three movies are completely distinct entities.
Yeah, but it's weird that Sala and Brody don't appear in Temple of Doom now. It's weird that Short Round doesn't appear in another movie.
I don't know. I think for me, it's kind of like when you have a serial, you have your main character and then all the side characters, and side characters will pop up just here and there, you know?
Yeah, but Short Round never popped up again.
Because no one likes Short Round.
I mean, right, and granted, like, it's a bad example, fucking Short Round. But, like, it's just, it's weird how these course correction movies, they don't only, like, course correct, but they tend to overdo it. And sometimes it works really well, because Sala was in the last Crusade in a way that he wasn't in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, they were just like, oh, we're going to throw Sala in to have Sala in. Bringing back Hans Vest in Return of the Jedi was like, oh, we're bringing back Hans Vest to bring Hans Vest back in. By the way, after Empire Strikes Back, like between Empire Strikes Back and The Force Awakens, Han never sets foot on the Millennium Falcon in Return of the Jedi. Which is weird to think. And it has one of the worst matte paintings in all the Star Wars movies. Like, the scene between Lando and Han where he's like, you'll take good care of her. And he's like, will you get going, you old pirate? Like, the matte painting is horrible in that scene. It looks like a painting. We didn't even talk about Lando. Did you like Billy D. Williams in the movie?
He's fine. He's there.
No, fat ass Lando Calrissian.
What's that? There's like that line or something. It's like, the only Han Solo says to Billy D. Williams, like, you only ever get this shit back, like over my dead body.
Yeah.
And then he dies, and Lando gets his shit back.
Lando goes freaking woohoo into the ship. Yeah, it was fun seeing Lando back. I wish there was more Lando. He was fun. He was the only one who looked like he was having fun in the movie.
I don't know. This movie was not good. Like I said, it's fun to watch one time, but it's actually terrible. It's fun in like a Neil Breen kind of way,
No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It makes a lot of weird choices. Like, again, Adam Driver's a great actor. Kylo Ren has nothing to do in this movie.
He doesn't.
Like, Daisy Ridley carries the movie pretty well, but Emperor Palpatine has, like, he's visually stronger, but he gets silenced so quickly. It's like, why even put him in? He gets killed off almost just like Snoke, so anticlimactically. Like,
well, you also can't see the only time you can ever see his face is when he gets disintegrated.
No, yes, yeah. I was doing an Emperor bit there, but yeah. No. You will die.
Also, it's a shame that in a movie called Rise of Skywalker, Palpatine never says "Rise" like he does in Revenge of the Sith.
I wonder if he was drinking Golem juice when he was doing Revenge of the Sith. 'Cause as soon as his face becomes deformed, he's got like the strongest frog croak in his voice. He's like,
oh, they digitally alter his voice.
Oh, did they?
If you notice, he kind of has a doubled voice where it's like he has one track that's him normally and another one that's like deeper.
Oh yeah, that's true. But it's a really good effect.
It is.
It's really good.
It does make him seem more like supernatural as well.
Yeah, and it fills the room better. Makes it's imposing.
It fills George Lucas's completely undecorated CGI rooms.
Oh God! Oh my God! Those CG sets have aged so poorly.
So badly.
Oh, it's awful.
I will say though, like, I still think Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars movie to come out in my lifetime.
Have you seen it lately?
I saw it maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
My problem,
recently enough to notice how bad a lot of it is.
My problem with all of the prequel movies is that they're not, is that they don't move moment to moment as well. Like, you can crap on J.J. Abrams for a lot of things, but moment to moment, his movies are always engaging. That's not necessarily the case with Revenge of the Sith. That's really my biggest problem with all of the prequels is that that every single scene should be engaging on some level. Does J.J. Abrams cheat a bit by making every scene cranked up to 11? Maybe, but it works really well. I mean, that's the reason why Star Trek is engaging, even if you don't understand what the hell is going on at the end. You just kind of go for a ride. Yeah.
My biggest problem with those movies is the special effects don't age well, and just the performances are so wooden for a lot of it. Or they feel like there's a lot of like kind of dead air around everything. So it feels strangely stilted, but I mean, Revenge of the Sith, it's, at least to my mind, it has like moments of like the Room type incompetence mixed with like Godfather level highs. Like, it's so bouncing up and down between these great peaks and these horrible valleys that I think for me it washes out to be my favorite Star Wars movie that has come out since I was born.
What's your favorite moment in Revenge of the Sith? Like, what's the Godfather Coppola in his prime moment in the movie for you?
I love all the bits where Anakin is like silently like gazing out over the city, contemplating like, is he gonna murder everybody? And it has like the Godfather montage of all the Jedi being gunned down.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And there's something about Christensen's performance where his facial acting is really good. So he's very like convincing and threatening as long as he doesn't talk. Because he looks like he looks like completely convincing when he's just kind of staring dramatically into the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as he's like, "You turned her against me," it's like, oh no. It just broke the spell.
I actually, I actually really like that scene just as a whole. Even with his whining, I like the fact that like he's pissed. I like the fact that he can't stop walking back and forth and he can't stop moving while Obi-Wan is nice and calm. I even like, "You turned her against me. You turned everyone against me. I hate you." Like I do like all that stuff. I give you that.
And again, like I like everything else about the scene. It's just his line delivery.
I mean, yeah. I have watched Hayden Christensen in other movies though, and I do genuinely enjoy him as an actor. I don't think he should get as much hate as he should. It also reminds me like I totally should have seen the complete negative backlash to The Last Jedi and now to this coming, because holy shit, like Jake Lloyd, his entire life was ruined by The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen, he can barely get another job because of the prequel movies. So
My brother saw him in a movie recently where he plays an Italian guy, and he puts on an Italian accent. So it's like Italian accent plus Hayden Christensen voice. And it's like a romance with Emma Roberts or something.
Yes, I've seen it on there. I'm like, can I con Aaliyah into watching this? Like, is it any good? He's actually really entertaining in Takers. He's not in it a lot, but he's really entertaining in it. And I have a personal soft spot for Takers and Den of Thieves. They're both horrible, but they're both of the same ilk. But
Is Den of Thieves the one with Nicolas Cage?
No, Den of Thieves is the one with Gerard Butler. Yeah. So I still think that that The Last Jedi is probably the best Star Wars movie made in my lifetime. Just because, like, all of the other elements, like it, aside from one really awkward edit in the beginning of the movie, the editing is super tight in The Last Jedi. The cinematography is really good. The color theory is amazing. If it's lacking in one thing, it's production design, because J.J. Abrams really went like full tilt on a really interesting dramatic production design in The Force Awakens. And The Last Jedi kind of suffers from being not as interesting. But I like how it works thematically. I think the actors, like Kylo Ren was annoying in The Force Awakens. And Kylo Ren is an interesting character in The Last Jedi.
Oh, he's so interesting in that movie.
But that makes his performance in The Force Awakens better. It heightens it. So that's why when I say, like, there are aspects of The Last Jedi that heighten The Force Awakens, Rey is more interesting, because there were a lot of complaints, like, to borrow a common term, there were a lot of complaints about Rey being a Mary Sue in The Force Awakens, how she does everything perfectly. And then in The Last Jedi, she keeps fucking things up. She keeps destroying, she destroys the crater with her lightsaber. Like, she awkwardly is like staring at Luke as he's doing his daily routine. She, like, all of the caretakers of the island fucking hate her. Like, it's great. It's hilarious. And by the way, the scene where Luke, like, grabs the pole to spear the fish. He, like, grabs that pole, swings across, turns around to look at Rey, and he just looks like a devil has possessed him with, like, this weird grin as he, like, spears a fish. Like, it's weird things like that where it's like he's cut off from the Force, but he's still using the Force.
Yeah.
Stuff like that I like.
Well, the thing about Rey's character is, I mean, Kylo Ren, I think, is the most thoughtfully written character, is the most, like, work put into him.
Until episode 9.
Until episode 9, yeah. I think Rey's characterization is pretty thin, especially in The Force Awakens. But, like, Daisy Ridley is just... She goes like 110%, and that sells the role, or sells the character beyond, what's just in the script.
Yeah.
Because I think if you maybe had a less charismatic actor, it would have been like, what the hell is this? And I mean, even still, people had complaints, but...
People still hate Daisy Ridley, but I think she's charismatic in The Force Awakens, but I think she is a better actress in Last Jedi, and she carries that over to Rise of Skywalker. I think she's a better actress in both of those movies, but she's charismatic in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, and the thing with The Force Awakens, too, is it's like, obviously it's just a rehash of so much stuff, but the new characters really are what made the movie fun to me because they were all
Agreed.
likable and engaging and interesting. And I
Agreed.
feel like they were all kind of flubbed in various ways in the two movies afterwards.
I would
The Rise of Skywalker is more guilty than The Last Jedi.
well, I would say that like for the majority of the characters, the only character that I feel like gets really fucked over is Finn, because I think Finn,
No, he's definitely the biggest victim of
The Last Jedi, yeah.
writing malfeasance.
And again, if if they had kind of continued on the route of like, oh, maybe Finn will be a Force user, like, hey, that's interesting, go with that. Oh, you didn't go with that Last Jedi, so yes, I get why people don't like that aspect of it, especially with Rise of Skywalker going like, you thought Finn was Force sensitive because he could use a lightsaber in Force Awakens. Guess what? He can talk to Daisy Ridley at any time. Like I wish they had gone more in that direction, and I'm glad they do that in Rise of Skywalker. And I think I mentioned this before, but did you see how many times John Boyega hurdled over something in that movie? Like, the guy could not stop randomly jumping over shit.
Huh.
It was.
I did not notice.
If you ever glance at it when it's on repeat on TNT, you'll notice. It's really weird. It's really weird. Look, I feel like there's a lot more to talk about on The Rise of Skywalker, but not really. I mean, there's things I liked about it.
Major points.
Yeah, there's things I liked about it, but most of the fan service, I think, was just kind of goofy. But I appreciated.
Oh, here's a bit of fan service. When they were planning for the assault on like the Sith Ghost Fleet or whatever,
the Holdo
like,
maneuver.
What if we do a Holdo maneuver? And someone's like, no, that's stupid.
It's a 1 in a million shot. It'll never work. Besides, we're gonna get reinforcements anyway. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. Well, where do you come on that? Do you find that validates it in The Last Jedi, or do you find that shits on it?
I feel like that shits on in The Last Jedi because I feel like, I mean, the Holdo maneuver, it's one of those things that it's really awesome on its own, but doesn't make the most sense in the larger context of things. Because then it's like, well, if you could do that, why didn't you do that earlier? Or why don't you have more ships do that to take out the entire fleet instead of like one or two?
Well, I mean, aside from the fact that you're going to lose your ship.
Well, but if you pile everyone onto one ship and then you have like 5 ships do the Holdo maneuver, you're good, basically. It's it's one of the, like I said, it's really, really cool in isolation. In context, it's like, well, it doesn't make the most sense. I think that they're trying to be like, oh, the Holdo maneuver was dumb, Laura Dern was dumb, or whatever.
Nobody likes. Why is she wearing a ball gown on a starship?
I'm sure there were also some people who were pissed that she had pink hair too.
Why didn't you get Bruce Dern instead? Fuck Laura Dern.
Oh, can you imagine Bruce Dern, who sounds like his voice just sounds like a car driving over gravel?
Just bowing down to Carrie Fisher, whose voice also sounds like a car dragging over gravel, mixed with a strained cat.
The thing is like, I like Laura Dern. She's a really good actor.
I do too.
It sucks that she's not in more things.
No, she's been in a lot recently. She's been like all over the
she's been
place.
having like kind of a resurgence.
Yeah, she's gonna be in Jurassic World 3. Maybe she'll get back together with Sam Neill and retcon the shitty part of Jurassic Park 3.
Man,
you're like, no more retcons. Fuck the retcons.
I know. Just retconning is never good. It's never good.
It isn't, especially when it's awkward. Like, oh, when I told you they were nothing, I was right. They were nothing. They did sell, but they didn't sell you for drinking money. They got rid of you because you're Palpatine's granddaughter. The worst thing ever, dude.
Oh God, it's.
I haven't met one person who thinks that was a good idea. I'm amazed. I haven't met a single person who thought that was a good idea.
No one in their right mind could think that's a good idea. It's a terrible idea, and it's like, I don't know. It's just it's
movie breaking.
It's movie breaking, and this idea and this endless need to go back and mess with past artworks because someone on the internet didn't like something, or you 30 years later are more critical of something you made at that time. is just a horrible idea. It's a bad instinct, and it needs to stop. It's why everyone is continually pissed at George Lucas, because he goes back and re-edits the old, original trilogy with shit that makes them actively worse.
Yeah.
And like, him doing, well, actually, Greedo shoots first.
Oh no, God, don't get me started on that. It's the best joke in the movie. I've been waiting for this for a long time, Solo. I bet you have. It's funny.
It's just like, the whole Greedo shoots first thing, that's every bit of retconning in Rise of Skywalker is just like that. It's just as infuriating as that. And I think that goes for all, like 99% of retconning in general, whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, whether it's comic books, whether it's other long-standing franchises like the Terminator or Alien. Like, anytime you go back and say, well, this thing actually wasn't this thing, it was this other thing, it's just like, go fuck yourself. It's getting, like, because then you run the risk of being like Francis Ford Coppola, where it's like, oh, here's an extended cut of Apocalypse Now that's the real, true version, and then again, 20 years later, being like, actually, you know what? I don't like the Redux. Here's another final cut of Apocalypse Now that's the real, true version, because I had problems with other versions of the movie that I've made. Like, constantly going back and tinkering with things is like, it's like a psychosis.
I agree.
Just make the thing, it exists, move on.
Generally speaking, I agree with you. I agree that there should only be one cut. The thing about Apocalypse Now is that even though Ford Coppola is fucking with his stuff, at least he's continually allowing the original to exist. So if you never want to delve into it, you always have the original. The problem with Star Wars, and now even worse because on Disney Plus they started cutting things out.
I know.
The problem is, if you want the pure experience from 1977, or all of those movies, you can't find them because they don't want to release them. They want to. George Lucas wanted to take them off, and now they want to Disney vault them. And it's bad because it's bad for cinema. Like, the movie that's going into the archive isn't the special edition with an added scene where they awkwardly have Jabba the Hutt and Han Solo calls him a human being, and then Boba Fett walks past. No, the version is the version that came out in theaters. Like, just keep it consistent. I used to love the special editions because they fix, like, touch-ups to visual effects I like.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't necessarily need the music number in Return of the Jedi. Like, that's not something I need.
No.
I don't need an extra scene with the Wampa.
You know what's crazy is George Lucas has also done, he's also special editionized the THX 1139.
I know. I heard.
Like, why? Why are you doing this?
Oh, is he going to do that with Red Tails too? Like,
oh, God.
Or like that other, like, Hidden Magic or whatever the animated movie he put out was? Like, it's weird to think that the guy who did, like, let me paraphrase that. I understand that Star Wars is amazing. I understand that American Graffiti is seen by many people to be an amazing movie. I guess THX 1185 is really good. George Lucas, to me, is not a good filmmaker. Like, I think it's fitting that J.J. Abrams took over Star Wars for him, because J.J. Abrams is a very derivative filmmaker, and George Lucas is a very derivative filmmaker.
Star Wars movies are all references to other movies.
What, J.J. Abrams or George Lucas is? Both.
Well, both.
Both.
At least George Lucas pulls from a wider bed of references. Like, he's pulling from the classics of 1960s and 70s cinema.
Yeah, or
all of his references,
all the way back to the 30s. Let's But I think he's a good producer, because Empire is good and Return is decent. But then when it gets to, like, episode 1, 2, and 3, he's very bare bones in how he approaches his shot compositions and things like that. He doesn't really let his cinematographers take over. Although I would argue that episode 1 probably has the most interesting cinematography, because there were practical sets and they were filmed on film. But, like, if you watch American Graffiti, like, he doesn't have a distinct style in that either. He borrows a lot from, like, cinema verite and from like French cinema. I haven't watched THX 1175.
I don't know.
I haven't watched THX.
It was 1138.
1138. I haven't watched that movie, so I can't really comment on that. But like the original Star Wars, a lot of people say that Marsha Lucas saved it in editing, and even when you watch it, I mean, it's not exactly especially Episode 4 is not exactly the most dynamic movie. Like,
well, no, he's got a very just lock it down on a tripod, shoot wide shots way of filming.
Yeah, and it's not bad, but it's also just not really original. Like, he doesn't really. There's not a lot of work in the master shot. He shoots for the edit, So like, he's an interesting filmmaker. I think he's probably a better editor than he is like a director. But there's a reason he dialed off the filmmaking after he made billions on Star Wars toys.
Yep, and that's why he's. Well, I mean, he keeps saying he's retired to make small personal films in the comfort of his garage or whatever.
Are they films
that see them?
Like, what is he making? Like, pornos?
I don't know.
Like, who makes movies in your garage to just like watch yourself?
I mean, the garage bit was a joke, but he's like, he seems to be wanting to make. He keeps saying he's like, I want to retire and make like kind of small scale personal movies. I'm like, I have no idea what that would be.
I'm interested. You've got me. Like, you've heard his original idea for Apocalypse Now. It was going to be like documentary footage mixed with cinema verite style. Like, it sounds interesting. It doesn't sound like the like grand masterpiece that Apocalypse Now became, but it would have been interesting.
Well, he got his start doing like racing documentaries.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
He should get back.
He's a big car guy.
I know that. I know, but he should get back into making documentaries. Like, I think that's where it would be the most interesting. But he's also been out of filmmaking for such a long time that you can see it when he's making the prequels. Like, there's a reason why Episode 1 feels amateurish, and there's a reason why he kind of rushed through Episode 3. I mean, Ben Burt, his sound designer, did the editing for all three of those movies. It's a really weird. All three of those movies are just kind of strange. And he had by the way, he had a co-screenwriter for Episode 2, and it's seen generally as the worst. And Carrie Fisher did script doctoring for all three of those movies. Wow. The prequels are really strange. Like, it's just a weird mess.
That is a weird mess.
I also want to touch on continuity between the trilogy, because a lot of people are pissed off that there was no overarching plan for these three movies, for these three episodes. And people are saying that, like, it's a huge problem. Where do you feel? Where do you stand on that? Like, the movies.
It's not a problem that there's no overarching plan. It's a problem that the three movies seem to clash with each other. They don't work together. Like, it's okay to have three movies that are very separate, but still have like a flow. Whereas I feel like with this trilogy, they're constantly making U-turns, and then I feel like Rise of Skywalker is like a last-ditch attempt to stamp an overarching plot onto the first two, and they really didn't need one.
I agree. I don't think that their approach was bad by going with directors who have a strong...
I don't think their approach was bad. I just think it yielded bad results.
Like, I think the execution was poor. Yeah.
It was a decent decision that just didn't work out, which is Decision Theory 101, never judge a decision by the result.
Right. And that's great. I need to take Decision Theory 101 now.
Yeah, well, it's the basis of decision theory is you never judge a decision by the actual result. You judge it by the expected result.
Yeah, which is the expected result of it would have been good if they could have executed it properly. But I'm wondering why they got so skittish so soon. Like, why? and who at Lucasfilm? Like, I feel like someone had a target on Kathleen Kennedy's back in Lucasfilm. Because a lot of the things that got leaked, like, what's his name? Gareth Edwards. They're doing extensive reshoots with Tony Gilroy's... with Tony Gilroy. Like, okay. Oh, Kathleen Kennedy loves The Last Jedi. Luckily, everyone hates The Last Jedi, but Kathleen Kennedy loves it. And she didn't have a problem with Rian Johnson, but you know who she did have a problem with? Like, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, and they got to hire someone else. It's like, who is leaking all of this information? You generally don't hear or care about reshoots because they're a normal part of the filmmaking process.
Yeah, I think there is. Oh God, I might get flack from this from like any of the one people that listen to this podcast. But I think there is a view that Kathleen Kennedy is sort of driving Star Wars into this like social justice-y realm, or SJW-y realm, Which, maybe there's some merit to that. I would put more of that on Rian Johnson than her.
I mean, I'd put that on J.J. Abrams to begin with because he's the one who stuck the girl as the main character in the first movie.
Kind of. But Last Jedi is so political, it's annoying. And so I think there's like a concerted effort to kind of smear her as being, because she's ultimately the CEO of all this, Yeah. It's like, they're ruining Star Wars by making it anti whatever, whatever the people complaining hold dear.
Oh, they're making it too anti-Star Wars because there are too many minorities in the movies now. Oh, they're making it anti-Star Wars because there's women.
There's no good white men characters,
who are redeemable, except for fucking Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, fucking. Right, I have heard that go around, and I also feel like it's Disney propaganda of like the self.
Oh, totally. Because in all fairness to Disney, they do try to make themselves seem like they're under attack by trolls when. A lot of the time, there are obviously some trolls out there, but Disney loves to try and play the victim so that they can drive ticket sales, which is so shady because Disney's this big evil corporation. They're like, oh, we're being harassed online by
the Sony Spider-Man thing.
Trolls, and it's like, screw you, you're fucking Disney. Like, all of the trolls in the world can harass you, and it shouldn't affect your bottom line because you're fucking Disney. Get over it.
So two things.
And it makes me feel really bad for people who actually buy that shit, who are actually like, oh, we need to go see Captain Marvel because people I disagree with politically are being very outspokenly against it or whatever. It's like, no, don't go see Captain Marvel because someone whose politics are different from you doesn't like it, therefore you will like it. Maybe try and see if it's not shit and and judge it on that.
Yeah. The whole Star Wars thing, or the whole Spider-Man thing, everyone I talked to was like, ugh, fuck Sony, how dare Sony ruin, and there was a huge backlash on the internet of Sony is actively ruining the Marvel universe, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Disney makes billions of dollars with Spider-Man.
Dude,
fuck
Disney
you, good for Sony for being fuck that.
Disney, I don't know how they do it, but they play liberals and left-wing people like a fucking fiddle, and it's infuriating.
It is the I didn't even realize that there was a gay scene. Oh, the lesbians kissing in this movie for 5 seconds.
Oh, in the fucking background, as another J.J. Abrams sweeping shot pans right over them.
No, yes. It was, I didn't know anything going into it, and if I had watched the movie and seen that without knowing about it, I would have been like, oh, what a pleasant surprise. 3 days before it opens, Saudi Arabia or Dubai, they're censoring the scene. Oh, well, that's good. It's an easy lift. But the first gay couple in Star Wars. You mean Poe and Finn? Oh, no. No, not Poe and Finn.
No, it's not Poe and Finn.
It's not.
Even though they really are the first gay couple in Star Wars.
Oscar. Apparently, everyone wants to fuck Finn in the series. Daisy, Rey. They try to ship Rey with Finn, and then Rose wants Finn, and then this Janna girl in this movie wants Finn. Man, and fucking Oscar Isaac wants Finn. He was
in a world where everyone's completely sexless. It seems like Finn does get around quite a bit,
and he's the biggest fuck up of them all. I don't get it. What the hell? But the whole gay scene and the way that it treated it's playing right into what you're saying. It's not only that, but it's also Disney is the worst at queer baiting of all of the companies I've ever seen. Just let it be. But no, Disney always has to play victim, and then they indulge in
they indulge in sort of this really weird queer baiting too, where it's you kind of queer bait two characters. And then the people who like it start writing dumb fanfics on, whatever shit website about it. So they're into it. And then everyone who doesn't like it gets really pissy and starts tweeting about it or making a bunch of noise on the internet, how mad they are, how Disney's pushing a gay agenda. And it's a win-win for Disney both ways because they got a shitload of free press for doing nothing, basically.
Yep. I've always said, it's Walt Disney coined it best. He's like, there's two Walt Disneys. There's the Uncle Walt persona that everyone loves, and then there's Walt Disney, the asshole producer, the asshole independent producer who's made a shit ton of money and no one wants to be around. It's like, yeah, that's the Disney that like it's carried over. The Disney brand, progressive for the people. Women love us. The Disney company, fuck everything. We want money. Like it's just it's so disgusting. Anyway, go ahead.
I wonder sometimes how Walt Disney, the ruthless, cutthroat businessman and vicious anti-Semite that he was, would feel about like current Disney, because it's like this like it is taking over the world. It's crushing all the competition. It's siphoning up all the money that goes into any artistic endeavor, at least in the United States these days. It's this massive powerhouse that he probably would love. But the people who took it, they were all Jewish. Like Michael Eisner and Bob Iger.
Jeffrey Katzenberg.
And Jeffrey Katzenberg, too. They're all to credit for turning Disney into this big old, like, into the evil empire that it is. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how Walt would feel about all that. Like, would he be proud of them, or would he still hate them because he's prejudiced?
It's so weird because you have, like, I'm a big Disney parks fan. I like to go to the parks, and there's a huge problem there that is kind of a microcosm of the company in general. I go back and forth because I don't know, since all of his claim to fame is just taking public domain items and then repurposing them for his own need. But then you have the evolution of the company where he repurposes it for his own need, and then the company goes and copyrights the shit out of it so that no one else can touch it. And I understand that he would probably be like that because of what happened with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Yeah,
I can definitely understand how he would like to have like a stranglehold and total control over everything. But the company itself is so wide in its breadth now, and it never really did what he wanted to do, which he wanted to create a little city that was all his own control, which would then lead to him probably finding a way to buy the entire state of Florida to put under his control, to then find a way to buy the entire United States, and then buy North America, and then the war, So I'm wondering if that would have been
Hitler,
the trajectory.
He's an anti-Semite who wants to control an entire country and rule an empire.
And has a very distinct mustache.
Yeah, and it's exactly how he wants it, down to every little detail. Yeah. Perfect order, the perfect Walt Disney world where we're all just living in it.
Yeah, the experimental prototype city of tomorrow, controlled by Disney. Now, with that said...
that's terrifying.
Yeah, isn't it, though? With that said, Disney's in a weird place where, like, yes, we're all worried that Disney's going to buy everything and take over the world. And Disney's running into a problem where they're just creatively bankrupt. Mm-hmm. They can't... Like, under Bob Iger, they've gone... Under Michael Eisner, they had a creativity boom. And under Bob Iger, they've had an expansion boom and a franchising boom, but they've become creatively bankrupt. Like, they've gotten to the point where Disney, who has never released sequels in theaters except for once in 1989 for their animated films, now are consistently releasing sequels to their animated films.
Well, they're exclusively releasing sequels, or almost exclusively.
Yes, which is weird. It's like... They can't create new properties. They can't create new intellectual properties.
No. Well, I mean, keep in mind, Bob Iger is the guy who famously canceled Twin Peaks.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, he was the head of ABC when Twin Peaks got axed. So you know what he thinks about creativity.
Yeah. Well, and then in the Disney parks, they haven't had an original park creation in decades now. Like, everything is just, you like the movies, we made a park version. You like the movies. And the problem with that is all of a sudden there's no creativity in the park. It's just the same shit. You can't have interesting park-based characters. Again, it's a discussion for a different time, but it's a microcosm of what's happening with the company in general. Mm-hmm. And it's scary, but it also is leading to stagnation, which I think is going to cause some sort of upending of the company ultimately.
I hope so, but it doesn't seem to be causing any kind of upending. People just sop up the same shit fed out of the same pipe.
Something's got to give. I mean, it happened back in the 60s when everyone, like, when television came around and then the studios were spending more and more money on these bigger and bigger movies until finally most of the studios went bankrupt. And then
Yeah.
they had to start going to smaller independent movies to fund it. Like, something's got to give at some point.
Yeah, I guess, but it's just like I was hoping, maybe Star Wars could be the breaking point since the last three movies are generally not highly regarded.
Yeah.
Um, but it's I don't know. Nothing seems to be changing. This movie's still gonna make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
The next, whatever, Black Widow's gonna make a shit ton of money because everyone's
Yeah.
gonna do the. It's probably another Marvel movie that's like every other Marvel movie, and it's whatever. But everyone's gonna be like, you gotta go see it. If you
Because
don't
you need to see
it,
the J.J. Abrams nose on Scarlett Johansson.
it's like you gotta go see it. You're a bad feminist if you don't see it or something. Or it'll just, or all the rubes will just be like, well, I got to see every single Marvel movie, so I'll see this one too.
I mean, again, and like not to discount like they've generally been consistent quality, which is why I keep going to them. Although Captain Marvel was like the exception, where I was like, the quality of this movie's not as good. Oh no, Ben Mendelsohn, why are you in this? But I mean, I agree with you. For the most part, I go in and I see the live action remakes, although those have gotten stale now. Like I don't know when the next one is coming out. But,
I think,
Mulan. Like,
oof. I hope everyone boycotts that.
I-
The main actress is a Communist Party shill who
Oh,
hates
God.
freedom and Hong Kong.
Well,
So
isn't
she can
Jackie
go fuck
Chan as
herself.
well?
Yeah, which is weird because he's from Hong Kong.
Ugh.
You'd think he would be pro-freedom, but he's actually another CCP shill.
Fuck. I
hope everyone reminds people that Mulan is made by folks who despise freedom and despise the American way of life. And that encourages enough people to not see it so it becomes a bomb.
Hey, Wonder Woman 1984 is coming out, and I'm looking forward to that. Even though that looks like actually, honestly, No Time to Die. That's the next.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true.
Wonder Woman-
1917 and Uncut Gems are first.
Wonder Woman 1984 it's like every big trend in entertainment put together. It's superheroes, it's 80s nostalgia, and it's George Orwell nostalgia.
I know I'm just going off of trailer reactions, but the trailer makes me both nervous because all of the like scene to scene storytelling, like ligament stuff looks really bad. But then I watch her ride the lightning with her lasso of truth.
Like Spider-Man swing on the lightning.
Yep, and I don't care what you think. That looks so Cornishly goofy, but so fucking badass. And then when she comes out in the full gold armor, I'm like, you've got my ticket.
So here's something that I kind of noticed. So the song in the trailer is a remix of New Order's Blue Monday, which didn't come out until...
Is that the song from Atomic Blonde?
Yes.
Okay,
I think so. It's like,
Yeah.
So that song didn't come out until 1986. So it is asynchronous with the time period of the movie. However, Wonder Woman swings on lightning bolts, and the Metallica album and song Ride the Lightning came out in 1984. So I'm going to be really pissed if they have Blue Monday in the movie, but they don't have Ride the Lightning in there.
I'm wondering if they're doing the Blue Monday thing because of Atomic Blonde. They're like, oh, people like that in the trailer for Atomic Blonde. They'll like it here.
The reason they do it is Blue Monday is the most 80s song of all time.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Well, name one song that's more 80s than Blue Monday.
It's bad because I'm just like the Blade Runner soundtrack.
Like the only song I could think of that maybe kind of comes close is like Bizarre Love Triangle, also by New Order, but I think Blue Monday is more just the 80s. Remember the 80s? Remember what the 80s sounded like? Boom, Blue Monday.
Yeah, I was going to go with A Flock of Seagulls song.
Oh,
You know, that one Flock of Seagulls song that the only one they did, but I can't think of it. But that
Space Age Love Song, or...
I don't know, man.
One time, I was at a friend's house, and we were listening. He had the radio on or something, and Flock of Seagulls came on, and he just turned to me. He's like, "Hey, you know why this band is called A Flock of Seagulls?" And I'm like, "Why?" And he just says, Because they're really fucking annoying.
Shit, now that you've mentioned the thing about Blue Monday, I'm like, I know what you mean, because it's all synth and everything like that. I can't think of anything else that's... Fuck, you put me on the spot. I didn't have my go-to 80s song. Hall & Oates, the band, the entire band.
Just the entire band.
Yeah, that's it. Either that or like Danger Zone. But that's also 86. So,
yep.
I'm looking forward to that though, and I'm looking forward to the new Star Wars movie in 2 years.
I'm not. I'm not looking forward to the new Star Wars. I'm not looking forward to the new Top Gun. Wonder Woman 1984 may be all right. I have no idea. The first one was, fine.
The soundtrack is fantastic in the first one. So that's like the in the trailer.
The saving grace.
I mean, not just the soundtrack, but that's the thing that like stands out the most. And when it's like they have the Wonder Woman theme, the new one from the movie, like come in at the end of Wonder Woman 1984's trailer. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I liked the original, because they got that hopeful theme, not just the Tom Hulkenberger
blistering guitar riff.
Yeah, that's just like completely
doesn't
out
fit
of
the
place
character
in
whatsoever.
World War One, but is awesome in Batman v Superman.
I know. I kind of, even though I was kind of irked by the use of Blue Monday in the trailer, I do kind of like it when movies have songs that are completely out of time with like when the movie takes place. Like if there was a Prohibition era gangster movie that had like Led Zeppelin or like modern rap music, or like had like an all synthesizer soundtrack, like I'd be down for that.
That's why I like Peaky Blinders, because the soundtrack is like heavy. It's like it's like rock and roll, and they're these like London gangsters and like gentry.
That's so Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, like I'm with you. I like the disassociation because you're using the music for a mood. You're not necessarily using it for. So
yeah, or like how there's electric guitars all over those old Sergio Leone movies.
Yeah, it's fucking badass. Doesn't quite work as well in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, but then again, nothing does.
Yep.
Do you have anything else to say about the rise of Skywalker?
Nope. It stinks.
It's, even though I have all the criticisms I have, I still had a lot of fun watching it, and
yeah,
I'm gonna have a lot of
fun too.
I'm gonna have a lot of fun watching it again. I'll still go back to it, but at the end of the day, I just feel disappointed by it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that does it, huh?
Yep.
Do we need to plug the website?
Oh yeah, our website is underthewheels.wixsite.com/blog. We also have a Facebook page which has links to our website in case our website, URL is too annoying to type in, which I think it probably is. We're hoping to upgrade it pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, we say that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
That. Stay tuned, and as always, our podcast is available on iTunes. Subscribe, give us a review, hopefully a good one, and yeah.
Also, you can email us at underthewheelspodcast@gmail.com.
That's right.
Yep. I got you, dude. That was good. That was really good. I'm glad that you know our websites better than I do. Are you going to be posting a review of a new movie anytime soon?
I don't know. It depends on how I feel about Uncut Gems, I guess. Or I might talk about Marriage Story, because I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but I am very... It's weird, because Marriage Story is like, within the first 10 minutes, if you're not completely engaged within the first 10 minutes, probably ignore it. But I don't know how many people will not be completely engaged within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
I mean, it's just, I've been so sick for the past, few days. It's hard to get my brain to function to do anything.
Understood.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see when I get well again. Thanks, right. JJ. I lost 8 pounds because of your goddamn movie.
Your movie gave me a stomach bug, you asshole! Fucking JJ Abrams. Well, here's better luck next time, JJ.
Better luck next time.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Gabe.
And you've just been Under the Wheels. Did you see Solo?
What's up?
Did you see Solo? Hello? I think we've been disconnected. I think the Force disconnected us.
Hello?
Disney got on. Are you there, dude? I think that Disney hijacked our podcast. They don't like us talking ill about the mouse, Star Wars, Marvel, which I could easily go on to. Oh, it looks like I got disconnected. Uh-oh. But yeah, Disney didn't like our connection. Yeah, they didn't like it. Did you see Solo?
Finished.